Chapter 65. Haha, there's nothing impossible about it. The power of the Tong Tian Tower's weapon spirit has been swallowed by your most trusted disciple. Suddenly, Lord Cat's fur turned pitch black, and his eyes were no longer black and white. Instead, they were blood red. Waves of frightening, gloomy pressure swept through the hall, causing the Green Palace to tremble incessantly. Whoosh! Whoosh! Upon seeing this, Wang Kai and Lu Yao's expressions abruptly changed. They hurriedly retreated a few steps and stared at the large black cat that had appeared in front of them with incomparable caution. The terrifying and sinister aura was not something that the two of them could contend against. Buzz, get lost. Since Cat Lord expelled your inner demons from your bodies, I'll swallow you one by one today. Naturally, I have the ability to make you all lose your minds. Cat Lord's appearance was restored, and he turned from pitch black to pale white. However, it only lasted for a few breaths before his pitch black appearance appeared again. The pair of blood-red eyes had a terrifying, murderous intent. He laughed eerily and said, "Why can't you let your disciple start a war? In that case, there would be a large amount of blood for us to swallow. Our original injuries would be healed, and our demon realm would have a breakthrough." However, you didn't agree. Because of this, you were suppressed for more than 50 years. Until today, you still refuse to come to your senses. You're the one who refuses to come to your senses. If Cat Lord hadn't swallowed you back, I'm afraid that in the end, you would have become the slaves of that wicked disciple. You would become the weapon spirit that allowed him to completely control the Tong Tian Tower. Now that the original weapon spirit of the Tong Tian Tower has been swallowed by that wicked disciple, only by creating a new weapon spirit can the Tong Tian Tower recover its power. Don't you understand now? Cat Lord scolded coldly. Nonsense. He swallowed the weapon spirit of the Tong Tian Tower to break through his realm and obtain more power so that he could control the war more perfectly. As for whether the Tong Tian Tower can be used, he doesn't care. Otherwise, he wouldn't have handed it over to me to control. The big black cat said disdainfully. Stupid. Don't you know where the Tong Tian Tower came from and what kind of power it has? Why would he give up such a treasure? Cat Lord scolded angrily. So what? As long as this Cat King returns to his original realm, I will be the main and you will be my assistant. Even if you want to resist, it will be useless. At that time, no matter how high your favorite disciple's realm is, she will definitely not be this Cat King's opponent. Everything is still under the control of this Cat King. Huh. Cat Lord's black fur returned to its original pale white color. Cat Lord made a series of hand seals and slapped his head with his paw. Panting heavily, he said angrily, "Damn it, I just swallowed back the energy doppelganger that was originally expelled. Cat Lord can't completely control it for the time being. I almost let that stupid inner demon take advantage of me." Were you performing a double act just now? Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and looked at him speechlessly. One moment it turned black, and the next moment it turned white. It looked really scary. Little girl, since you fought with Cat King before, I'll give you the Tong Tian Tower's artifact spirit. However, you must not leak out what you saw just now. No one is allowed to, Cat King said with a serious expression. A strange light flashed across Lu Yao's beautiful eyes when she heard this. She nodded gently and smiled. Since Senior already has a plan, Junior will naturally not interfere. That's good. May I know your master's name? Cat Lord squinted his eyes and asked. Grandma Nine Dragons, Lu Yao said softly. So it's her. No wonder she knows about the Tong Tian Tower. She chased Cat Lord all the way to Fan State. Cat Lord's expression was ugly. He waved his paw and said impatiently, Cat Lord will send you out of the Tong Tian Tower. Wait. Wang Kai saw this and hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. However, Cat Lord's movements were faster. He slapped his paw across the air, and a white light covered Lu Yao's body. As the light dissipated, she completely disappeared from the Tong Tian Tower. Damn it, stupid cat. You actually dare to resist me. Wang Kai wrapped his arms around Lu Yao, but he caught nothing. Lu Yao's shadow was nowhere to be seen. Cat Lord stroked his long whiskers in disdain and said indifferently, Cat Lord doesn't like that old witch Grandma Nine Dragons. Cat Lord also doesn't like her disciple. If it wasn't for the fact that she fought with Cat Lord's inner demon, Ben Shao can't be bothered about the grudge between you and Grandma Nine Dragons. However, Lu Yao is my fiancée. If you dare to harm her, don't blame Ben Shao for being merciless. Wang Kai snorted coldly. Does he really think that stupid bloodline contract is useful? Fine, let this brat continue to be arrogant. Cat Lord secretly despised Suemo. He waved his paw and sneered. You are in a very dangerous situation now. The Shenwu Academy has already joined forces with the Sky-Suppressing King to attack the Tianwu dynasty with the Crown Prince of the Shenwu dynasty. Haha, what does their attack on the Tianwu dynasty have to do with me? My father even destroyed the Tianwu dynasty more than 50 years ago. Wang Kaiman shrugged his shoulders nonchalantly. However, deep down he began to ponder. If the Sky-Suppressing King and the Shenwu Academy were to join forces, then Wanzha's arrival at the Shenwu Academy could be explained. However, the Sky-Suppressing King and the Shenwu Academy's real goal isn't to attack the Tianwu dynasty. They want to join forces with the Tianwu dynasty to destroy the Crown Prince and his million-strong army. Cat Lord sneered. Wang Kai was indifferent when he heard this. He wasn't surprised at all and smiled casually. It would be strange if the Shenwu Academy and the Sky-Suppressing King were willing to help the Shenwu dynasty expand their territory. The Crown Prince requests to attack the Tianwu dynasty. Wang Shang of the Shenwu dynasty will appoint the generals, the marshal's residence, the imperial advisor's residence, the prime minister's residence, the 2 imperial mansions, and the 4 aristocratic families will all participate. Cat Lord stroked his whiskers and laughed mockingly. Wang Kai's expression changed when he heard this. If this was true, then wouldn't he have been tricked by the Sky-Suppressing King and the Shenwu Academy? He, Wang Shang of the Shenwu dynasty, shouldn't be a fool, right? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and laughed. Cat Lord stroked his whiskers with a look of disdain and smiled faintly. The Crown Prince was the one who initiated the attack on the Tianwu dynasty. The Crown Prince also ordered the Crown Prince, Wanzha, to join the Shenwu Academy. However, he didn't know that he had already fallen into the trap. Beat them at their own game? Even so, Wang Kai didn't believe that Wang Shang of the Shenwu dynasty didn't know anything about it. He didn't care and waved his hand. It's fine. At most, Ben Shao will come out and destroy the Tianwu dynasty, the Shenwu Academy, and the Sky-Suppressing King's army. With Ben Shao's power, destroying all the enemies will be as easy as snapping his fingers. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the rank 1 martial ancestor realm. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the martial ancestor realm and activating the bloodline ability. Congratulations to the host for successfully attaining rank 4 bloodline ability. Every time the host breaks through to the next rank, the bloodline ability will increase by 1 rank. Chapter 66. Host. Wang Kai Occupation. Martial Artist Realm. First Grade Martial Grandmaster Cultivation Technique. Ancient Divine King Technique Martial Technique. Vitality Bomb Equipment. Netherworld Sword Bloodline. 4th Grade Bragging Points. 78 Experience. 02000 Host. When you reach the Martial Grandmaster Realm, Master-level martial techniques and equipment will no longer be recorded and stored. Only Master-level martial techniques and equipment are qualified to be recorded and stored by the system. The system screen automatically appeared in front of Wang Kai. When he heard the notification, he suddenly understood. Aren't the Vitality Bomb and Netherworld Sword also in the Master-level martial technique? Why do they still exist? And those disappear martial techniques, does that mean I can't use them? Wang Kai frowned and asked in his mind. Host, the Vitality Bomb is different from other martial techniques. It can be upgraded along with the host's realm. Now it has automatically reached the Master level. The Netherworld Sword. after absorbing a large amount of the underworld's death aura, will be upgraded to a master weapon in a day. The host can still use the martial techniques that have been erased by the system. Wang Kai smiled with satisfaction and activated his mind to close it. Now that he had successfully broken through to the martial arts Grandmaster realm, Master Realm martial skills were not of much use. When fighting with people of the same realm, he still needed Zone Realm martial skills. Furthermore, when dealing with experts below the Zone Realm, he could injure them with just the pressure of the Zone Realm. Old dog Beidang Hong. Bin Xiao, I want to see how long you can act tough. Wang Kai sneered in his heart. During the martial arts ceremony, he was seriously injured by Beidang Hong's aura. Now that he had stepped into the martial Grandmaster realm, it would not be difficult to surpass Beidang Hong's level. Moreover, the fourth grade bloodline power meant that he could fight opponents who were 4 levels higher than him. He had wanted to use the Tong Tian Tower to activate the bloodline power, but he did not expect that breaking through to the martial Grandmaster realm was the key. Kid, I'm not telling you this for no reason. If you don't want the Marshal's residence and the Grand Tutor's residence to be implicated, you'd better think of a way to stop this as soon as possible. Cat stroked his long whiskers and solemnly exhorted. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and placed his hands behind his back. He smiled calmly and said, "It doesn't matter, as long as they don't accept Wang Shang's orders. Moreover, even if they accept Wang Shang's orders with my old man's ability, a mere sky-suppressing king and the Shenwu Academy, Bin Xiao won't be able to handle it. Let's not talk about my disciple's cultivation for now." The current palace master of Shenwu Academy is already on par with Wang Shang of the Shenwu dynasty. I don't know how strong the old man you're talking about is, but if he isn't as strong as Wang Shang of the Shenwu dynasty, I advise you to think of a way to stop the war as soon as possible, Cat said calmly. Compared to Wang Shang of the Shenwu dynasty, Wang Kai's expression was strange. He touched his chin and thought to himself. When the old man led the army to attack the Zhanwu dynasty, Wang Shang and Wang Shang should be on par with each other, since he could destroy Zhanwu dynasty. Moreover, Uncle Fu seems to be much stronger than the old man. Thinking of this, Wang Kai felt even more unconcerned. He shrugged his shoulders and smiled. In the end, who is your disciple? Ling Dan. Cat squinted his eyes and grinded his teeth as he laughed coldly. So it was him. No wonder the Tongtian Tower is in front of his palace of the Pill Beast. Wait, Ling Shu called Ling Dan Jr. brother. Isn't that proof? Wang Kai was stunned and looked at him playfully. Cat stroked his long whiskers and shook his head in disappointment. He sighed, that's right. Ling Shu and Ling Dan were both my disciples. However, Ling Dan is a demon beast, so I liked him more. I didn't expect. In the end, it was Ling Dan who framed me. If that's the case, then you deserve it. Since you're willing to accept a human as your disciple, you shouldn't favor any one of them. Did you know that Elder Ling Shu left the Elder's Hall more than 50 years ago and was willing to live in seclusion in the Ling Shu courtyard halfway up the mountain? Wang Kai said with a disdainful smile. He had no sympathy for Cat's plight. All of this happened more than 50 years ago. The Shenwu Academy was located at the edge of the Shenwu dynasty's imperial city. Cat was suppressed by his disciple Ling Dan, and Ling Shu voluntarily gave up her position as the head of the Elder's Hall. You're right. I can't blame anyone else for this. At first, I thought that Ling Shu had instigated Ling Dan to set me up and suppress me for more than 50 years. It wasn't until I swallowed Cat King and obtained his memories that I finally understood the whole story. Cat King sneered. TSK, TSK. Hearing this, Wang Kai sneered in disdain. Crossing his hands behind his back, he turned to look outside the hall and said indifferently, "You were able to swallow the Black Cat Monarch because you borrowed the strength of Lu Yao and Beitang Wentian, right? Not really. That little girl and Beidang Wentian were fighting Cat King and had exhausted a portion of Cat King's power. When Grandpa Cat came up, I saw him fighting that half-demon brat. So, I decided to intervene and devour Cat King." Grandpa Cat stroked his long whiskers and said, "So that's how it was." Wang Kai suddenly understood. No wonder he didn't see the Cat King, Cat Lord, or Little Rock King when he appeared in the main hall. They were fighting outside. Speaking of which, the battle between the Cat King and the Little Rock King should be... Wong Kai's expression changed slightly. Cat Grandpa jumped when he heard that. All the fur on his body stood on end as he shouted, "Not good. I told him to stop you from fighting with Beidang Wentian because I was afraid you would kill that boy. Hurry up and help him." "Big stupid cat. Ben Shao really wants to rip off all your fur." Wong Kai scolded with a black face. He tapped his feet and dashed out of the main hall. No matter what, the Little Rock King wasn't his enemy. In fact, he was the only opponent who could fight him to his heart's content. If possible, he didn't want anything to happen to the Little Rock King. Cat Lord did this because he didn't want Beidang Wentian to discover him. He also didn't want to expose the fact that he had swallowed the Cat King. As for what Cat Lord was planning, Wong Kai didn't know. Boy, in the future, Cat Lord will transform into the Cat King. Before Cat Lord's strength recovers, bear with it for the time being and lie to my evil disciple, Ling Dan. After you leave the Tong Tian Tower, remember to give this item to Ling Shu. Whoosh! Cat Lord transformed into a big black cat and stood in front of Wong Kai. He passed a transparent white paw to Wong Kai. "Humph, now you know which disciple is better?" Wong Kai laughed disdainfully. He flipped his hand and kept the white paw in his space ring. Then, he turned into a ray of light and dashed into the distance. Cat Lord has already revealed Ling Dan's plot. If this boy and Ling Shu can't stop the battle, Cat Lord will take advantage of the situation and use the blood of millions of warriors to recover my Demon Dao realm. In this way, Cat Lord won't be considered as cruel and merciless. Cat Lord squinted his eyes and stroked his long beard. Bang! Little Rock King, who had transformed into a Kuan Peng, flew backward. His golden, flaming feathers scattered in all directions, and he landed violently a few hundred meters away. His demonic beast body had also been beaten back into human form. He could no longer maintain his two golden wings. Umph! A mere bird dares to clamor against Palace Master Ben Shao. You really don't know the difference between life and death. Beidang Wentian snorted coldly. Feeling the intense pain in his body, he could not help but lower his head to look. When he saw that his clothes were tattered and covered in countless wounds, his expression became even more furious. A dignified martial ancestor realm cultivator had actually been beaten so miserably by a demonic beast. Even though his original realm had been suppressed to that of a 9th grade martial general, to Beidang Wentian, this was a deep humiliation. Cough, cough. Bah! If I hadn't used up too much of my demonic chi in the battle with Cat Lord, a weak martial ancestor like you would be no match for me. Little Rock King clutched his chest and sat up. He spat out a mouthful of blood and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His face was pale, but full of arrogance. Chapter 67. Arrogant. Palace Master Ben Shao is a martial ancestor realm expert. Now, he only has the strength of a 9th grade martial general. This is all due to the suppression of Tong Tian Tower. If this was outside of Tong Tian Tower, a mere general realm ant like you would not even have the qualifications to exchange blows with Palace Master Ben Shao. Beidang Wentian said disdainfully. Bang! Beidang Wentian arrived in front of Little Rock King. He lifted his leg and fiercely stomped on Little Rock King's chest. As he exerted force, a series of crunching sounds rang out incessantly. Hee, Beidang Wentian, you're the weakest martial ancestor I've ever seen. Your ability to step on air is inferior to Wong Kai's. Little Rock King spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was deathly pale as he sneered. Even though his bones had been forcefully crushed, he did not cry out in pain. Seeing this, Beidang Wentian's expression became increasingly furious. His eyes were cold and filled with killing intent. He smiled sinisterly and said, "Since that's the case, Palace Master Ben Shao will let you know that the dignity of a martial ancestor realm cannot be challenged." Buzz! Beidang Wentian raised his palm. A ball of gray chi appeared in the center of his palm, and mixed with the green battle chi. It was like an yin-yang disc. The only difference was that the green battle chi occupied one side, while the other side was occupied by the gray death chi. Although I am unable to display the full power of the Dark North Seal due to the suppression of Tong Tian Tower against a mere general realm ant like you, it's enough to let you know what terror is. Beidang Wentian sneered. The green and gray disc in his palm spun rapidly. His arm suddenly pressed down, and his palm slammed down. Little Rock King's face was as pale as paper. He gritted his teeth and tried to break free. However, his body was firmly stepped on by Beidang Wentian and could not move at all. He could only watch as the green and gray disc continued to enlarge in his eyes. A look of despair appeared in his eyes. No matter how unwilling he was, the current him was powerless to reverse the situation. Ha! Suddenly, Beidang Wentian's arm paused. His wrist had been grabbed by a powerful hand. The rapidly spinning green and gray disc gradually disappeared. This is the so-called martial ancestor realm martial skill of the Beidang family, Dark North Seal. That's all there is to it. Wang Kai gave an indifferent smile. Suddenly, he exerted strength in his palm and lifted it up. Then, he released his palm and sent Beidang Wentian flying backwards. Wang Kai, ahem, your cultivation realm. Little Peng King's eyes narrowed. He didn't feel as if he had just survived a calamity. Instead, he was shocked by Wang Kai's cultivation realm. With just a single hand, Wang Kai was actually able to interrupt Beidang Wentian's ancestor martial skill and send him flying. Even at his peak, the Little Rock King knew that he wouldn't be able to do this. He could only be said to be evenly matched with Beidang Wentian. Of course, the premise was that they were in Tong Tian Tower. But Wang Kai did it, and it was happening right in front of his eyes. Looks like my martial arts realm isn't suppressed by the Sky Split Tower. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes as he thought to himself. Rumble. Wang Kai. Beidang Wentian's eyes were bloodshot. He clenched his teeth and shouted angrily. Immediately, he flipped his body and stepped into the air. Under his intense anger, he released his battle chi without holding back. The air in the yin-yang space trembled. Are you a dog? What are you shouting for? Could it be that you want to turn your anger into strength so that you can act tough? Unfortunately, Ben Shao has tamed tens of thousands of demonic beasts. He doesn't lack you. Come, let's start by learning how to shake hands. Wang Kai smiled indifferently and stretched out his hand to beckon Beidang Wentian. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. I'll kill you. Swoosh. Beidang Wentian clenched his teeth and sneered. His body turned into a stream of light and stepped into the air. Dark North Seal. Buzz. Beidang Wentian waved his hand, and 2 colors, green and gray, appeared in front of Wang Kai in the blink of an eye. With a cold expression, he turned his palm and chopped down. A dog can't change its habit. You really don't learn from your mistakes. Wang Kai sneered in disdain when he saw this. He placed one hand behind his back while his other hand swept through the air. With a bang, Beidang Wentian's figure was once again sent flying backwards. Blood sprayed out as he fell to the ground, his body twitching, and his appearance was extremely miserable. No, that's impossible. You didn't even use your battle chi. How can you have such great strength? Beidang Wentian's eyes widened as he exclaimed in disbelief. Wang Kai smiled indifferently. With his hands behind his back, he nodded and said, That's right. Ben Shao has reached the unparalleled realm. Even if he doesn't use his battle chi, he can easily kill his enemies. Even if the Tower of Babel didn't suppress your realm, you would still end up like this. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Wah! Beidang Wentian was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. He clutched his chest and shouted angrily, Cat King, you actually dared to lie to Palace Master Ben Shao. Why is he only a martial ancestor? Why did Palace Master Ben Shao suppress his realm to 9th grade martial general? As a martial ancestor expert, How could he not know why Wang Kai was so powerful? If he was dealing with a martial general, a martial ancestor didn't need to use his battle chi. He could use his strength and pressure to heavily injure his opponent. GG wah wah wah. If it wasn't for the fact that you still have some use, Bin Xiao would have smashed you on the spot. Wang Kai snorted impatiently. Whoosh! The big black cat appeared beside Beitang, Wentian, and coldly said, "This cat king can't control the rules of the Tower of Babel. As for why he's only a martial ancestor, this cat king doesn't know either. Kill them." Beitang Wentian's eyes were terrifyingly cold. The humiliation he had just suffered was something he had never experienced in his 20 years of life. His heart no longer allowed Wang Kai and the little Rock King to live. Hearing this, the Cat King shook his head and stroked his beard. "You can't kill them. Instead of killing them now and incurring the wrath of the Great Rock Palace and the Marshal's Palace, why don't we wait until we attack Tianwu and have Crown Prince Kong request for Wang Shang to recruit some generals? When that time comes, they will join the army. As the young palace master of the academy, if you want to kill them, won't it all be up to you?" Wang. The black cat monarch raised its claws and tapped the air. As two black lights enveloped Wang Kai and Little Rock King, they immediately turned into a black light and disappeared from the Tong Tian Tower. "You!" Beitang Wentian's eyes were bloodshot. He gritted his teeth and glared at the Cat King. He didn't want to endure the humiliation he had just suffered. "Think of the big picture," the Cat King said coldly. With a light tap of his paw, he slapped the immobile Beitang Wentian out of the Tower of Babel. "This is really strange. Whose disciple is that brat? Or what kind of body constitution does he have? It's fine if he can't be spied on by the Tower of Babel, but it can't even suppress his cultivation level. This Cat King really can't understand." The Cat King stroked his beard and sighed helplessly. Bang! Bang! Outside the Tower of Babel, Wang Kai and the Little Rock King appeared one after another. Soon after, Beitang Wentian, like the Little Rock King, fell heavily to the ground. Hee, is this still a martial ancestor realm expert? He can't even stand properly. Bin Xiao really looks down on him. Wang Kai stood in the air with his hands behind his back and laughed disdainfully. Chapter 68. Poof! Beitang Wentian's face turned red when he heard that. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. He clutched his chest as he lay on the ground. His eyes were filled with a strong, murderous intent. He gritted his teeth and said eerily, "Wang Kai, Palace Master Bin Xiao will definitely kill you." If Beitang Wentian could still stand, he would definitely use the power of the martial ancestor realm to kill Wang Kai like a madman. However, he could not move at all. In the Skirich Tower, one's realm was suppressed to the martial general realm. Even if Wang Kai was in the martial ancestor realm, a gentle wave of his hand would be enough to severely injure any general realm cultivator. Just like that day in the martial competition grand ceremony, Elder Beidang Hong had relied on his aura to heavily injure Wang Kai, rendering him unable to use martial arts for 3 days. Not to mention that inside the Sky Split Tower, Wang Kai hadn't used his aura, but had directly attacked. It seems that your advancement is very smooth. You have reached such a level in just 2 days. I am really looking forward to tomorrow's battle. Elder Lingshu slowly opened her eyes and looked at Wang Kai with a smile. Even if he knew that the Skirich Tower suppressed one's realm, he was able to severely injure Beitang Wentian. It was enough to prove his current strength. Whoosh! At the same time, Elder Lingdan rushed out from the Pill Beast Palace and appeared beside Beitang Wentian. When he saw that Beitang Wentian was severely injured, he frowned and glanced coldly at Wang Kai. "Take Wentian to recuperate." Roar, 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 roar. Many demonic beasts obeyed and bit Beitang Wentian with their mouths. They quickly disappeared from the Pill Beast Palace. Haha, Honor Master praises me too much. You can only blame that Beitang Wentian for being too weak. Disciple only spat a mouthful of saliva, and he was already knocked to the ground. Fortunately, Honor Master was waiting here. Otherwise, that trash might have asked some shameless old thing to take the opportunity to blackmail me. Wang Kai smiled indifferently, his hands clasped behind his back as he glanced at Elder Ling Dan. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Elder Ling Dan narrowed his eyes. His gaze was cold and filled with murderous intent. He clenched his fists under his sleeves and slowly loosened them. He said coldly, Ling Shu, since he has successfully passed the Tower of Babel, you can leave now. Master, let's leave. A mere 9-story tower of ascension is simply too easy. Disciple didn't expend the slightest bit of effort within it, and it was like taking a stroll in my own backyard. It's truly boring to the extreme. Wang Kai spoke with a faint smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying coercion swept out, causing Wang Kai's pupils to shrink. He quickly moved behind Elder Ling Shu. Elder Ling Shu waved her hand, and the coercion instantly dissipated. He's not a Wuzong. He has actually reached the Martial King realm. Wang Kai's expression was extremely solemn. He had provoked Ling Dan with his words just to test his cultivation level. However, he had not expected the result of the test to be beyond the realm of a Wuzong. In addition to the Palace Master of Shenwu Academy, Sky Suppressing King, and Wang Shang of Tianwu Dynasty, Wang Kai's heart thumped violently. For Martial King experts were at the border. No matter how strong Wang Shang of Tianwu Dynasty was, according to Cat Lord, he was only on par with the Palace Master of Shenwu Academy. That left Sky Suppressing King, Wang Shang of Tianwu Dynasty, and this unknown Ling Dan. Can Elder Ling Dan and Uncle Fu really deal with him? Tianwu Dynasty doesn't have any more Martial King experts, right? Wang Kai thought to himself. He suddenly felt a headache coming on. At first, he did not care about attacking Tianwu Dynasty, but now he was extremely worried. If there were no more Martial King experts in Tianwu Dynasty, it would be fine. With Elder Ling Shu, they would be able to deal with them. However, that was not the case. Let's go. Elder Ling Shu's expression was indifferent. She glanced coldly at Ling Dan, grabbed the Little Rock King and Wang Kai, and left. When they arrived at Ling Shu's courtyard, Elder Ling Shu's face suddenly turned pale. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. She shook her head and sighed with a hint of self-mockery. I didn't expect Lingdan's demonic Tao to progress so quickly. It has only been 50 years, Master. Wang Kai's face suddenly changed when he saw this. He quickly stepped forward to support Ling Shu. He frowned and said in a deep voice, Master, he can advance so quickly because he swallowed the weapon spirit of the Tong Tian Tower. Who did you see in Tong Tian Tower? Elder Ling Shu was stunned, and her eyes were filled with excitement. Wang Kai nodded gently. He was about to take out the cat's paw from the space ring when Elder Ling Shu grabbed his wrist. She glanced at Little Rock King on the ground. Cough, cough. Give me a room to recuperate. Little Rock King clutched his chest and struggled to stand up. Damn fatty. Big bald donkey lunatic lung. Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He hurriedly shouted into Ling Shu's courtyard. However, there was no response. Your junior brothers have been expelled from the Shenwu Academy. Whoosh! A beautiful figure appeared at the entrance of the courtyard. She looked at Wang Kai strangely. Muron Wanqing. Bang! Hearing this, Wang Kai's eyes turned cold. His feet moved, and in an instant he was in front of her. He turned his hand and grabbed her neck and forcefully pushed her against the courtyard door. What happened? Tell me the truth. Wang Kai asked sternly. Cough, cough. Muron Wanqing's beautiful face turned ghastly pale from fright. She wanted to resist, yet she discovered that no matter how much strength she exerted, she was unable to break free in the slightest. Her heart thumped as her beautiful eyes stared at Wang Kai in surprise, and she shouted in a delicate voice, Let go of me. If you dare to lie, Bin Xiao will sell you to a brothel. Wang Kai's eyes were cold as he slowly released his grip. Beidang Su stepped in and asked her junior brothers to kowtow and apologize to Beidang Tianlei. They refused, and were severely injured by Beitang Su. In the end, Elder Beitang gave the order to expel all of them from the Shenwu Academy for disobeying their superiors. Murong Wanqing rubbed her neck and gritted her teeth. Her face was filled with hidden bitterness. "You are courting death," Wang Kai shouted angrily. He did not need to think to know that it was Beitang Su and Beitang Tianlei who made things difficult for them that made Fatso Lu and the others angry. Since Beitang Su attacked them first, why did they have to be punished for offending their superiors? Is Beitang Su very noble? Wang Kai asked coldly. Haha, in my opinion, you should thank Elder Beitang Hong for this matter. If it wasn't for him stopping in time, your junior brothers would have been killed by Beitang Tianlei. Murong Wanqing laughed softly as she looked at Wang Kai with a strange look in her eyes. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and felt extremely cold. Elder Beitang Hong did not dare to kill Fatso Lu and the others because he was afraid of Master Lingshu. He sneered and said, "Yes, I will thank Elder Beitang properly. You can leave now. Do you need my help? You have to think about it carefully. Within the Shenwu Academy, they wouldn't dare to kill your junior apprentice brother, but outside the Shenwu Academy. Coincidentally, I arranged for the elders of the Murong family to follow him, but without my orders." Murong Wanqing laughed delicately. Slap! Wang Kai's expression became extremely playful when he heard this. He leaned forward and wrapped his arms around Murong Wanqing's waist before lifting her chin with one hand. He lowered his head and stared at her as he said with a mocking smile, "Do you know that this young master hates threats the most?" Chapter 69. It's a fair deal. Moreover, I have no obligation to save your junior brother, Murong Wanqing said coldly. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and gently let go of her. He took 2 steps back and nodded with a smile. "Yes, you're right. Tell me, what do you want me to do? There's nothing in this world that Ben Xiao can't do. Just tell me." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Yes, as long as it's not too much. Wang Kai shrugged and added. Murong Wanqing looked at him with disdain. She thought he was generous, but in the end, he was still bragging. "It's simple. You have to help me kill Beitang Tianlei. If you have the ability, Beitang Su will die too." I don't need you to tell me that. I won't let them live. Ben Xiao is a generous man. I'll give you one more chance. Tell me your wish. Ben Xiao will fulfill it for you. Of course, you have to let the elders of the Murong family safely send Fatso Lu and the others back to King City. Wang Kai said with a smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Murong Wanqing's face stiffened. She had never thought that he would be so fond of bragging. If he really had the ability to fulfill any wish, why would he be begging me now? Moreover, Beitang Su was the direct descendant of the Beitang family. His status was different from Beitang Zhantian's. How could he be killed so easily? Elder Murong, how's the situation over there? Murong Wanqing snorted and took out a blue jade pendant. She infused it with battle chi, and the jade pendant flashed with a blue halo. Crack! With a loud explosion, the jade pendant exploded on the spot, causing Murong Wanqing to take a few steps back. She was so scared that her face turned pale, and her delicate body trembled slightly. What's going on? Seeing this, Wang Kai was startled and hurriedly asked. The soul jade pendant is broken, which means that Elder Murong has died. Elder Lingshu said calmly. Wang Kai's breathing stopped when he heard this. He took a step forward and forcefully grabbed Murong Wanqing's shoulder. He coldly scolded. Weren't you acting like you had the pearl of wisdom in your hands just now? Are you trying to act tough in front of Ben Xiao? I also don't know what happened. Elder Murong is already a middle-grade martial ancestor. The Beitang family's elder that went to kill your junior was only a low-grade martial ancestor. Murong Wanqing said with a pale face. Her eyes reddened as she squatted on the ground and sobbed. The death of her clan's elder caused Murong Wanqing to feel extremely guilty. If she hadn't begged Elder Murong to follow them, such a thing wouldn't have happened. Kai, there's no need to worry. the soul jade pendant just broke. Master should be able to take you there in time, Ling Shu said with a frown. She stepped forward and grabbed Wang Kai's shoulder. With a few steps, they disappeared into the sky, 200 miles away from Shinwu Academy. Elder Ling Shu stepped on the air quickly and arrived within 10 breaths' time. On the desert, there were 3 middle-aged corpses that were still bleeding. Beitang Yushui, Beitang Huangquan, Murong Quan. Elder Ling Shu frowned, and her face was slightly pale. When Wang Kai saw this, he quickly supported Ling Shu and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Master. You were severely injured just now. Now you have to. It's okay. Lulu and the others' corpses are not here. Moreover, the 3 elders were killed in one blow. They must have been saved by an expert." Elder Ling Shu waved her hand and smiled. When Wang Kai heard this, he focused his gaze and looked at the wounds on the 3 corpses. He realized that their hearts had been penetrated and there were no other injuries on the rest of their bodies. The shape of the penetrated heart was actually a swastika. Buddhism. Jichun. Wang Kai's eyes suddenly lit up, and he heaved a sigh of relief. There was no mistake about it. It must have been done by a Buddhism expert. This place was only 100 miles away from Monarch City. There was only one Buddhism expert here, and that was Jichun. However, he was not sure why the Murong family elder had also died. Didn't he follow Murong Wanqing's request to investigate? Based on Wang Kai's understanding of Jichun, he shouldn't be the kind of person who would kill people for no reason. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to escape unscathed after bragging about the Buddhist sect's Tathagata back in the White Jade Tower. I admit that I'm not as good as such an expert. Fortunately, he is not our enemy. Elder Ling Shu sighed sadly. When Wang Kai heard this, he could not help but smack his lips. Although he had expected Master Jichun to be awesome, he did not expect Master Ling Shu to admit that she was not as good as him. It seemed that Jichun was more unpredictable than he had thought. "Master, why don't you follow me back to Monarch City to recuperate?" Wang Kai said after pondering for a while. Although he had some guesses, he still had to go back and verify them. Otherwise, he would feel as if there was a huge rock pressing down on his heart. Elder Ling Shu nodded gently. Just as she was about to grab Wang Kai grabbed her shoulder instead. "Hee, let me do it." Wang Kai grinned and leaped into the air. He did not need to move his feet to walk in the air. His speed had completely surpassed the martial technique air step. Martial arts Grandmaster Realm. When Elder Ling Shu saw this, she was shocked. She could not imagine what Wang Kai had experienced in the Tong Tian Tower. His martial arts realm had broken through so quickly. Not only had he broken through 5 ranks, but he had also crossed a realm. Such a cultivation speed was rarely seen in the world. Look! Someone is flying in the sky. Isn't that Wang Kai from the Marshal's mansion? He can actually fly in the air. I heard that he had become a disciple of the Shinwu Academy. I did not expect him to become so powerful in just a few days. At first, I thought that the 2 guards from the Marshal's mansion were bragging. I did not expect Wang Kai to really become a disciple of the Shinwu Academy. Now that he has achieved success in his cultivation, he can fly in the air. That's amazing. When Wang Kai brought Elder Ling Shu into Monarch City, the crowd exclaimed. Although they knew that martial artists who had reached a certain level of cultivation could fly in the air, they had not seen it before. They were all shocked. Damn it, why is this bastard's cultivation speed so fast? Last time, he caused me to lose my reputation. What's more infuriating is that someone actually believed his nonsense. I am as pure as ice and as pure as jade. Why would I spend the night with a bragging bastard? Ba. Spending the night with me. Is he worthy? On the 3rd floor of the White Jade Tower, Li Ling Xian stood by the window. She was wearing a purple dress and had a graceful figure. At this moment, she was blinking her beautiful eyes and looking at Wang Kai, who was flying towards the Marshal's mansion. Her beautiful face was full of anger. "Your Highness, it seems that Wang Kai's martial arts realm has reached the Martial Grandmaster realm. Why don't we let him join in the battle against the Tianwu Academy? This way our strength." On the 3rd floor of the White Jade Tower, Yuan Hao waved his folding fan, and his face was full of wisdom. Wan Kong frowned and said coldly, "He's just a martial arts grandmaster. The Divine Martial Arts Academy and the Suppressing Heavenly King's residence are countless. If he dies in the war, I'm afraid the two from the Marshal's residence won't let this go." But Elder Ling Dan's message said that she wants Wang Kai to join. "I heard that it is because he injured Beidang Wentian and killed Beidang Zhantian. He also challenged Beidang Su to a battle." "Haha, tomorrow is the day of the battle." Yuan Hao laughed. It is just a quarrel between children. How can it be compared to the battle against the Tianwu Academy? Let's talk about this later." Wan Kong snorted unhappily. Yuan Hao nodded slightly, and his eyes were full of admiration. He smiled and said, "Your Highness is right. Right now, we should focus on winning over Baiyu Tower. Lady Ling Xian, shall we continue our discussion?" Prince Wan Kong stood up and raised his wine cup. Chapter 70. The Marshal's Mansion. "Young Master, quick, inform the old master that the young master is back." Wang Kai and Elder Lingshu landed in front of the mansion. The guards quickly went up to greet them. Wang Yuan and Wang Lai had already spread the news of their young master's battle in the Shenwu Academy. Now that they saw their young master, they all became more respectful. "Wait, I will look for the old master later. Let me ask you, is Master Ji Chun still in the mansion? Is the young master of the Lu family, Lu, also here? Are they injured?" Wang Kai asked with a frown. His nerves couldn't help but tense up. The guards were stunned when they heard this. They looked at each other and nodded in unison. "Young master, Master Ji Chun has just returned to the residence." Master Lu and two unfamiliar youths were brought into the residence by Master Ji Chun. Master Ji Chun and the other three youths were safe and sound about an hour after young master returned. Phew, Wang Kai gently exhaled, and his tense nerves gradually relaxed. He took out a stack of banknotes with a smile on his face and said, "Well, you all did well. Here are 1,000,000 taels of silver. Take it and drink." When Wang Kai entered the mansion with Elder Lingshu, the guard were all dumbfounded. They looked at the large stack of banknotes in their hands in astonishment. They looked at each other in silence and felt that it was unbelievable. What had they done? How could the young master be so generous? What happened to the young master? Why is he willing to give us 1,000,000 taels of banknotes? Cough, cough. I think the young master's martial arts realm has increased, and he sees money as dirt. That's right. Otherwise, with the young master's greedy personality, he would only give us a few taels of silver. Let's not talk about that for now. Leave the banknotes with me. Bullshit. Why should I leave it with you? Stop arguing. Let me go get lost. Marshal Wang, I haven't seen you for many years. I didn't expect you to be the same. In the mansion, Elder Lingshu cupped her fists in greeting. However, she was ignored by the old master, and the atmosphere became awkward. How come I heard that there was someone who dared to lay a hand on my grandson in the Shenwu Academy? Lingshu, how did you manage the Shenwu Academy? If you can't give me a perfect explanation, then the palace master of the Shenwu Academy will be replaced. The old man snorted with disdain. Elder Lingshu shook her head with a wry smile. She sighed and said self-deprecatingly, "To be honest, I resigned from my position as the head of the Elder Hall more than 50 years ago, and the Beitang family took over the position of palace master." "Huh!" The moment these words were spoken, the old man's eyes widened. He slammed his palm on the table, causing it to creak. He was so angry that he laughed. "Then according to you, I can do whatever I want with the Shenwu Academy." No, Marshal Wang, please don't be angry. The reason why the Shenwu Academy was able to survive until now was all because of Marshal Wang. It's just that the people in the academy are corrupted and the Beidang family is arrogant and domineering. It's really difficult for me to control them. Elder Lingshu hurriedly said with a smile. If it was a one-on-one fight, Lingshu believed that she wouldn't be much weaker than the old master. However, there was still a peerless expert in the marshal's mansion. Moreover, the old master had destroyed the Zhanwu dynasty in the past. As long as he gave the order, millions of soldiers would instantly suppress the Shenwu Academy. It could be said that the most prestigious person in the Shenwu dynasty wasn't Wang Shang, but the old master of the marshal's mansion. The Beitang family? The family that secretly conspired with old Liu? The old master frowned and asked with a strange look. Elder Lingshu nodded slightly and sighed helplessly. She said sadly, "It was because of this that the Beitang family was able to ascend to the position of palace lord more than 50 years ago. My junior brother, Ling Dan, used this as an achievement and fully supported the Beitang family. In the end, I could only take a back seat. I said that the Beitang family wasn't a good family. If they hadn't secretly conspired with old Liu, the Zhanwu dynasty wouldn't have been defeated so quickly. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for begging me to let the Beitang family go. Now you're suffering, right?" The old master sneered with disdain. Elder Lingshu was silent. Back then, she had begged the old master to let the Beitang family go because of Ling Dan. However, she didn't expect the Beitang family to join forces with Ling Dan to force her to step down after getting rid of the disaster. Now that she thought about it, it could be said that she had been caught in a trap of her own making. Wang Kai had been listening quietly from the side. He didn't expect the old master to be so awesome back then. He wanted to destroy the Shenwu Academy with just one word. Moreover, Elder Lingshu seemed to be friends with the old master. When he had just arrived at the Shenwu Academy, Elder Lingshu and he had only met once. However, she was willing to stand up for him at the martial competition ceremony. The old master must have been the reason. "Master Lingshu, I think the reason you pleaded for the Beidang family was also because of Elder Ling Dan, right?" Wang Kai smiled and squinted his eyes. "Master? He is your master?" The old man's expression froze for a moment. Then he blew his beard and glared at Wang Kai with a rather contemptuous gaze. His expression seemed to say that the master he had found was very inferior. Elder Lingshu laughed awkwardly and waved her hand. She said, "Old Master Wang, back then, my martial arts realm was similar to yours. It was within my ability to teach cultivation, similar to mine." "You actually have the nerve to say such words. How about it? Do you want to spar with me?" The old man snorted in disdain when he heard that. Whoosh! Wang Kai saw that the two of them were about to fight. He quickly stepped forward and took out one of Cat Lord's paws. He waved it and said, "Wait a minute, Master Lingshu. Take a look at this before you decide what to do with the Shenwu Academy." The old master snorted disdainfully. He sat back down and picked up his teacup. However, after Elder Lingshu took one of Cat Lord's paws, her face suddenly became gloomy. Finally, she clenched her fists and shouted angrily, "Damn spiritual pill! I will not forgive you. Master Lingshu, Ling Dan is now borrowing the power of the Tongtian Tower's weapon spirit. His demon Dao realm is unfathomable. Stupid, cough cough, Senior Cat's strength has not recovered yet. He can only stay in the Tongtian Tower and disguise himself as the Black Cat King. If Master Lingshu gets angry and fights with Ling Dan will be suspicious. If Senior Cat's disguise is exposed, his life will be in danger." Wang Kai said quickly. He was afraid that Lingshu would not be able to control herself and return to the Shenwu Academy to fight with Ling Dan. "Your master? Which one? Who is this so-called Senior Cat?" The old man was stunned and asked curiously. Elder Lingshu suddenly cupped her fists and said seriously, "Old Master Wang, I am afraid that we will have to rely on you to solve the Shenwu Academy. Oh no, to solve the crisis in Fan State." Chapter 71. The Shenwu Academy isn't strong enough to threaten the Fan province. The old man snorted disdainfully. Wang Kai had a strange look on his face when he heard this. He did not expect his master to be so stubborn and confident. He did not put the Shenwu Academy in his eyes at all. However, when he thought about Lingdan's unfathomable power, he stepped forward and said, "Old Master, Lingdan's realm has improved tremendously by devouring the weapon spirit of the Tower of Babel. He can even injure Master Lingshu with his aura alone. Oh, the injuries on your body were caused by that spiritual pill?" The old man frowned. Ling Shu could be injured with just his pressure alone. Even if his cultivation wasn't as high as his, it shouldn't be so weak. At least, the old man knew that he couldn't injure Ling Shu with just his pressure alone. Ling Shu bitterly nodded. Her expression was complicated. She sighed and said, Ling Dan's cultivation has reached middle rank Martial King. Middle rank Martial King, between rank 4 and rank 5. Impossible. The strongest person in the Fan province is only rank 3 Martial King. Only outsiders can reach the level of Martial King above medial grade. The old man flatly denied. He was only rank 3 Martial King, the same as Wang Shang. In the entire Fan province, excluding outsiders, he could be considered the strongest. Outsiders? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He couldn't help but think to himself, outsiders, you're talking about people like Master Jichen and Lord Cat in the Tong Tian Tower. I didn't expect that stupid cat to be so strong. In the Fan province, there are 4 outsiders, Grandma Nine Dragons, Master Baiyu, Senior Fu Bo, and my master. Other than them, there is no one else. Ling Dan was able to reach middle rank Martial King because of the Tong Tian Tower spirit. He's definitely not an outsider. Furthermore, with Emperor Fan protecting the Fan province, outsiders won't dare to casually interfere. Ling Shu indifferently said. Hearing that, the old man nodded seriously. With a serious expression, he said, Emperor Fan used his great power to seal the Fan province. No matter how strong the outsiders were, as long as they enter the Fan province, they will all be suppressed to middle rank Martial Wang Shang. Emperor Fan is an existence that surpasses Martial King. Therefore, outsiders won't dare to be presumptuous in the Fan province. It seems that the Tong Tian Tower is also an outsider. Old Martial Wang is wise. My master brought the Tong Tian Tower to the Fan province more than 100 years ago. At that time, he took me and Ling Dan as his disciples. With the 5 great families as the backbone, he established the Zhanwu Academy. Originally, he wanted to recover from his injuries in the Zhanwu dynasty. However, more than 50 years ago, Old Martial led an army to destroy the Zhanwu dynasty. In the end, the Zhanwu Academy was located in the Zhanwu dynasty and changed its name to Shenwu Academy. It's reasonable that Old Martial doesn't know about the Tong Tian Tower. Ling Shu's eyes were filled with memories. Back then, she was fortunate enough to become Lord Cat's disciple and began to cultivate. She even established the Zhanwu Academy. After many years of hard work, although the academy wasn't the strongest in the Fan province, it was still a considerable force. However, now that time had passed, the past had drifted away like smoke. Then according to you, the 5 great families are also outsiders? Why haven't I heard of this before? Moreover, if your master is also an outsider, why haven't I seen him? Since the crisis arose because of him establishing the academy, naturally, he should be the one to solve it. The old man snorted unhappily. If he had known about this earlier, he would have chosen to destroy the Shenwu Academy back then. Ling Shu's face was somewhat stiff. Her expression was filled with anger as she said, My master is the senior cat who was suppressed in the Tong Tian Tower. He has not recovered from his injuries and was framed by Ling Dan more than 50 years ago. As a result, Emperor Fan heavily injured him. Now, he can only rely on a disguise to deceive his evil disciple Ling Dan. I have only just found out about this. If I had known about this earlier, I would have killed him before Ling Dan could devour the weapon spirit. Emperor Fan heavily injured him? TSK. I didn't expect your senior cat to be so powerful. He could even survive the attack of Emperor Fan. The old man exclaimed in shock. The power of Emperor Fan was not something a martial king could compare to. Even a high-grade martial king could be destroyed in a snap of Emperor Fan's fingers. However, there was someone who could survive the attack of Emperor Fan. This made the old man's heart tremble. Yes, Ling Dan is extremely sinister. He schemed to let Emperor Fan heavily injure my master. Then, he used my master's name to force me to give up my position and secretly suppress my master, who was heavily injured. After devouring the weapon spirit for more than 50 years, His strength has become unfathomable. Now, he wants to use the war between the Shinwu dynasty and the Tianwu dynasty to increase the strength of my master's avatar with the blood of millions of soldiers. He wants to turn my master's avatar into the new weapon spirit of the Tong Tian Tower. I'm gonna stop this. I hope the old marshal can help me. Ling Shu looked sincere as she bowed and cupped her fists. Damn, this Ling Dan is really scheming. Not only did he devour the weapon spirit to strengthen himself, he also wants to turn to Ben. Cough, cough. He wants to turn Senior Cat's avatar, the Black Cat King, into the new weapon spirit. In this way, I'm afraid Senior Cat's true body will also be devoured by the Black Cat King. Wang Kai could not help but exclaim. His expression was extremely interesting. He did not expect Ling Dan to be so ruthless. The Black Cat King was Lord Cat's strongest avatar. It was formed from Lord Cat's evil thoughts. If he used the blood of war to increase his strength, once he surpassed Lord Cat, who had not recovered from his injuries, he would definitely succeed in devouring Lord Cat. In this way, he would directly obtain all of Lord Cat's abilities. As long as he continued to recover from his injuries, he would also obtain Lord Cat's original demonic Dao realm. The two were originally one. Whoever could control, it would obtain control of the body. Once Ling Dan's plan succeeded, Lord Cat would definitely become the new weapon spirit of the Tong Tian Tower. In this way, the Tong Tian Tower would regain its original strength. With a weapon spirit, it would have power. What kind of demonic beast is Ling Dan? It is so sinister and calculative. It is really frightening. However, compared to Ben Shao, the difference is like heaven and earth. They are not on the same level at all. Wang Kai smacked his lips and could not help but feel embarrassed as he bragged. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. This is not difficult. The old man smiled mysteriously. Elder Ling Shu's mouth twitched when she saw this. She did not expect the grandfather and grandson to be so similar. Even at this juncture, one still did not forget to brag, while the other did not care at all. Just the words, "not difficult," were enough to summarize the matter. Young master, I heard that you're going to fight with the direct descendant of the Beitang family tomorrow. When the time comes, I will go with you. Suddenly, Uncle Fu walked into the hall. Beside him, Master Ji Chun was full of smiles. He nodded his head and laughed. Haha, I also want to go to the Shinwu Academy to resolve my karma. Senior Uncle Fu, may I know your name? Elder Ling Shu suddenly turned around and respectfully greeted Fu Bo. When she looked at Ji Chun, her pupils suddenly shrank, and she also did not dare to be negligent in greeting. Ji Chun. Master Ji Chun put his palms together and smiled gently. Young Master Kai, I have decided to go to the Buddha continent to cultivate. Fatty Lu's large belly shook as he laughed out loud in high spirits. Behind him, Qin Rin and Lung Feng also appeared one after another. Chapter 72. Fatso Lu said that he wanted to become a monk in the Buddha region. Damn, Fatty, you can't have been scared silly by the Shinwu Academy elders, right? Wang Kai was dumbfounded. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't figure out where his courage came from. Fatso Lu patted his belly carelessly. His eyes lit up as he pointed at Ji Chun and shouted with a brilliant expression, Young Master Kai. You didn't see it. This baldy, Grandmaster Ji Chun, is very awesome. Just one move, and he killed 3 martial ancestor realm experts. Zenong, a monk should watch his words and actions. Master Ji Chun smiled gently. Swoosh! In an instant, Fatso Lu was like an obedient child. He put his palms together and bowed. He smiled and said, I understand. The corners of Wang Kai's mouth twitched when he saw this. It was really hard for him to accept that such a worrisome person like Fatty Lu actually had such an honest side. He couldn't help but look at Canrin and Lung Feng inquisitively, only to see that they were already used to this. Master Ji Chun, there should only be 2 elders chasing after them. Why is there another corpse? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and asked. Hearing this, Master Ji-chun put his palms together and bowed slightly. He nodded and said with a smile, "Benefactor, you might not know this, but the person hiding in the dark joined forces with the other two to deal with me when he saw me trying to stop them. I didn't want to kill them, but they were too aggressive. They threatened me with the lives of the 3 people. If I could save more people by killing the 3 villains, I wouldn't have shown mercy." It seemed that the Murong family elder that Murong Wanqing had sent over wasn't very reliable. However, it made sense. After all, they were all from Shinwu Academy. When they saw that outsiders had interfered, they would naturally join forces. It was just that they ended up in a miserable state. "Benefactor Wang Kai, you said before that if I followed Master Ji-chun to the Buddha continent to cultivate, you would return the Black Dragon Blade to me and give me 10 million taels of silver as travel expenses." Now Fatty Lou's face was filled with a peaceful smile, and no one could see any evil intentions in his smile. The scariest thing in the world wasn't a vicious villain, but a monk who was benevolent but incomparably sinister. Wang Kai's face darkened. He took out the Black Dragon Blade and threw it over. He gritted his teeth and said, "I can give you the Black Dragon Blade, but forget about the 10 million silver notes. Don't forget that you still owe me 10 million silver notes." Patter. Fatty Lou quickly reached out and caught the Black Dragon Blade, as if he was afraid that it would be snatched away again. Shaking his face, he shouted, "Young Master Kai, you can't go back on your word. I don't want to make a fool of myself in front of all the seniors here. Haha, what a joke. Ben Sheo's righteousness can be witnessed by the heavens and the sun and moon. He has never spoken a single lie. Everyone here knows that," Wang Kai said with an indifferent smile with his hands behind his back. "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point." The moment these words were spoken, the entire hall became so silent that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. It was as if a gust of cold wind had blown past. "Cough, cough, you little bastards. Get out of here immediately." Old Marshal Wang could no longer hold back his pride. He waved his hand and scolded them. "The 2 of you are also going to Fu Province?" In Wang Kai's courtyard, Lung Feng, Can Blade, and Fatty Lou were sitting around a stone table. "We brothers are not going to become monks. After witnessing Master Ji Chen's ability, we just want to leave Fan Province and explore the world." Can Blade licked his lips and wiped his bald head with a smile. "No matter how strong you are, there will always be someone stronger. Fan Province is too small," Lung Feng said coldly. Wang Kai lightly nodded his head. Indeed, Fan Province was worthless to an expert like Ji-chun. Just like the 4 outsiders, which one of them wasn't strong enough to make Wang Shang bow his head. Grandma 9 Dragons is that little girl Lu Yao's master. Uncle Fu also came from outside Fan Province. Including the big stupid cat, the only person I haven't met yet is the so-called White Jade Tower's master. Wang Kai thought to himself, these experts were all upper-grade martial kings. Furthermore, it was because of Fan Province's seal. How strong were they originally? Furthermore, there was Emperor Fan in Fan Province. Fan Province's seal was set up by Emperor Fan. How strong was he? If it was possible, Wang Kai really wanted to leave with them. However, although there were not many strong cultivators in Fan Province, they would all fall into the trap of the Shinwu Academy. The marshal's residence would not be an exception. Only when this matter was resolved could he leave with peace of mind. Yes, once the matter of attacking Tianwu is over, I will also leave Fan Province. A genius like Ben Xiao will definitely become the brightest star outside of Fan Province. He'll be able to make countless beauties bow down to him and defeat all the geniuses. Wang Kai proudly said with a smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. When Lung Feng and Can Blade heard this, the corners of their mouths twitched. They immediately turned their heads away. They really didn't want to see Wang Kai's arrogant appearance. He was obviously bragging, but he said it as if it was the truth. Haha, young Master Kai, I'll be waiting for you in the Buddha continent. Before you come, I will establish the bragging alliance in the Buddha continent, but the position of alliance master will be temporarily taken by me. Fatty Lou smiled proudly. His eyes were full of fantasy, as if he couldn't wait to go to Fan Province right now. Wang Kai's expression was playful. He shrugged and crossed his legs. His finger tapped on the stone table as he lightly said, "Little brat, you are willing to become a monk. It's not just to improve your martial arts, right? Sigh. For the future of the Liu clan, I can only leave Fan Province with hatred." Fatty Lou's face was full of sorrow as he sighed. It was as if he was sacrificing himself for a righteous cause. It's obviously for the female disciples of Fan Province that Master Ji Chen mentioned. Cam Blade licked his lips and said with disdain, "Even if you become a monk, you are still a perverted monk." Lung Feng coldly glanced at him. Wang Kai was startled when he heard this. He didn't expect Ji Chen to want to accept him as a disciple and even mention such a thing. He couldn't help narrowing his eyes and looking at Ji Chen with a mocking smile. "Damn fatty, after all this time, you've taken a fancy to a nun." "Nonsense. Nuns aren't the only female disciples in Fan Province." That old bald donkey Ji Chen said that everyone in Fan Province is a lay disciple. Men, women, old, and young all cultivate Buddhism. Do you understand, lay disciples? They don't need to shave their heads. Fatty Lou shouted with a red face. Everyone in a province is a Buddhist cultivator? Wang Kai's heart skipped a beat. He didn't think that Fan Province would be so awesome. To be able to spread Buddhism to such an extent, it was definitely not something an ordinary person could do. Take Fan Province, for example. There were Buddhist temples, but there were only a few, and there were only a few hundred people. No wonder it was called Fan Province. This only proved that Fan Province was under the control of Buddhist cultivators. Hee. Then you have to work hard. If you can become an abbot, then all kinds of beautiful lay disciples will be at your fingertips. Even beautiful nuns can be taken in as well. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled evilly. He was really looking forward to seeing what Fatty Lou would do in Fan Province. Chapter 73. As night fell, a crescent moon hung in the sky like a beacon, illuminating the dark night. A gentle breeze blew in the quiet mansion. Wang Kai sat beside a stone table, the willow tree above his head swaying gently. In front of him was a transparent screen that was emitting light, but outsiders could not see it. There are only 5 types of zone stage martial skills. Wang Kai frowned slightly, feeling a little speechless. He touched the screen with his mind and found that he could only see the zone stage martial skills section. He could not see anything higher than that. 8 inner hidden gates requires 6 bragging points. Form displacement transposition requires 6 bragging points. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he saw this. The bragging points required for each of the 5 zone level martial skills were only 6 points. He could not help but grin, thinking that the bragging points required were not that much. With what he had now, he could definitely cultivate all 5 zone level martial skills. Immediately, Wang Kai tapped on the screen and practiced all 5 zone stage martial skills. Congratulations to the host for successfully practicing the zone stage martial skill. 8 inner hidden gates. 6 bragging points consumed. Congratulations to the host for successfully practicing the zone stage martial skill, form displacement transposition. 6 bragging points consumed. Congratulations to the host for successfully practicing the zone stage martial skill, universal slash. 6 bragging points consumed. Congratulations to the host for successfully practicing the zone stage martial skill, Zhanqi fist. 6 bragging points consumed. Congratulations to the host for successfully practicing the zone stage martial skill, 1 origin sword. 6 bragging points consumed. Ben Xiao is really talented. Even if it is a zone stage martial skill, he can still practice it to perfection in an instant. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and proudly bragged. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point consumed. Host, Wang Kai occupation, martial artist realm, 1st grade martial ancestor cultivation method, ancient divine king technique martial skills, 8 inner hidden gates, form displacement transposition, universal slash, Zhanqi fist, 1 origin sword, origin chi bullet equipment, netherworld sword bloodline, level 4 bragging points, 58 experience, 10000200000. After Wang Kai checked the characteristics of each martial skill, he used his mind to turn off the system. He stood up with a smile on his face and stretched his body. A series of crackling sounds could be heard as he softly shouted, "Transposition!" Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Wang Kai's figure disappeared from beside the stone table. When he reappeared, he was already 10 meters away. In the blink of an eye, his figure disappeared into thin air like a ghost, constantly appearing in every corner of the courtyard. Every time I switch positions, I can only teleport 10 meters away. But that's not bad. 10 meters is enough to do a lot of things. Wang Kai had his hands behind his back as he looked at the dark night sky. His eyes shone with a playful light. Form swap. Whoosh. Swoosh. Wang Kai's figure disappeared and then reappeared. Under the continuous display of his martial techniques, he left the marshal's residence silently. What kind of movement technique is this kid cultivating? I can only estimate where he will appear next, but I can't catch him halfway. In the study of the marshal's residence, the old man stood in front of the window, his face full of surprise. When Uncle Fu heard this, he glanced at him with disdain and secretly said with disdain, "Even the cultivation technique was secretly passed to him by you. Now you want to pretend that you don't know about his martial techniques? Like grandfather, like grandson, the ability to put on an act is inherited." Little did he know that the old man had the same thought. He put all the blame on Uncle Fu. He believed that Wang Kai's success in breaking through the martial ancestor realm and practicing so many wonderful martial techniques was definitely related to Uncle Fu. Umitba, the Wang family is indeed unfathomable. Ji Chun sat cross-legged in a courtyard, his face full of surprise. Elder Lingshu had her hands behind her back as she floated in the air. She looked up, and a gratified look flashed in her eyes. The more powerful Wang Kai was, the more confident she would be in tomorrow's battle. White Jade Tower. Pada. Wang Kai's figure appeared in front of the window on the 3rd floor. He stretched out his hand and gently pushed open the wooden window. He looked inside with a playful gaze and laughed softly. Li Lingxian, last time Bin Xiao did not feel anything. Tonight is a beautiful night. If we do it again, who are you? On the 3rd floor of White Jade Tower, there was no sign of Li Lingxian. Sitting at the table was a middle-aged man of about 30 years old. He was wearing a white robe and had a jade crown on his head. He looked very handsome and was drinking from a wine cup. White Jade Tower's Tower Lord, Lu Baiyu. The white-clothed man smiled gently. His smile was like a spring breeze. His aura was even more refined than the Lu clan's clan head, Lu Chengshen. He squinted his eyes and looked at Wang Kai, raising his wine cup in a toast. White Jade Tower's Tower Lord. When Wang Kai heard this, his heart skipped a beat. He had heard of this person from the old man. He was one of the 4 outsiders from Fan Province. He was a superior grade martial king. He was a powerful person who could make Wang Shang bow his head. Hee, since Miss Lingxian is not here, I will take my leave. Wang Kai laughed dryly. He was not in the mood to be alone with such a powerful person, who knew what his temper was like. Based on his appearance and behavior, he was definitely not a kind person. Immediately, Xiaoqin cupped his fists and was about to float away. However, he found that his body was frozen in place. He could not move at all. Ling Xian will be here in a moment. Since young Master Kai is looking for her, why don't you come in and have a drink with me? Didn't you say before that you wanted to be friends with me? Lu Baiyu smiled gently, her eyes full of playfulness. With a gentle wave of Lu Baiyu's arm, Wang Kai could not resist and floated into the 3rd floor. The wooden window closed automatically with a click. At this moment, Wang Kai was extremely depressed. He sat across from Lu Baiyu cautiously. He really wanted to tell Lu Baiyu that he was only bragging back then. Who the hell would be friends with him? I heard from Ling Xian that young Master Kai can compose a poem in 7 steps. Why don't you show me? Lu Baiyu smiled with narrowed eyes. With a light tap of his finger, the wine pot on the table floated up on its own. It moved along with the wine cup and arrived in front of Wang Kai. The wine pot also tilted slightly, filling the wine cup to the brim. Seeing this, Wang Kai was dumbfounded. Even though he could also control objects with battle chi, he definitely could not do it with a light tap of his finger. This degree of control over battle chi was not something a Grandmaster Realm cultivator could compare with. Ahem, Miss Ling Xian, you flatter me. I only stole someone else's poem. How would I dare to? Puffed. Wang Kai was halfway through his sentence when he couldn't hold back his laughter. Building Master Lu? Lu Baiyu nodded indifferently and chuckled softly. Well, I think you also stole it. Such an exquisite poem is difficult for ordinary people to compose. Alas, it's a pity that I have no chance to meet the person who wrote it. Well, I still have some matters to attend to at home. I won't disturb Building Master Lu's drinking here. Goodbye. Wang Kai really did not want to stay here. He quickly excused himself and was about to leave. Pata! The wooden window suddenly opened, and Li Lingxian floated in a purple dress with a light veil around her. Her beautiful and enchanting face was full of playfulness. Hee! How could young Master Kai be so fickle? Stay here tonight. Chapter 74. Wang Kai's face darkened as he silently cursed her. If he could, of course, he wanted to stay. But now was not the time to seek pleasure. Even if he stayed a little longer, he would feel like he was sitting on pins and needles. Ahem, Miss Ling Xian is as pure as ice and as pure as jade. Your beauty is unparalleled. The only person in the world who is worthy of you is Ben Shao. But to be honest, there is something I need to take care of in the palace. Let's meet again another day. Wang Kai hastily bragged and quickly walked towards the staircase. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Seeing this, Li Lingxian covered her face and laughed coquettishly. Her beautiful eyes were full of mockery. Seeing Wang Kai like this was quite interesting. Master, are we really going to let him go like this? Li Lingxian's eyes flashed as she asked with a smile. Lu Baiyu gently shook her head. She poured herself a cup of wine and slowly put it down. Looking at the night sky outside the window, she faintly smiled. He will be back soon. Sure enough, in less than 100 breaths of time, Wang Kai's face darkened as he unwillingly walked up to the 3rd floor. Because he left in a hurry, when he came up, he had to pay 2 million taels of silver. Accompanying him were 2 young men. They were the current crown prince, Wan Kong, and the prime minister, Yuan Hao. Wang Kai originally wanted to leave the White Jade Tower as soon as possible. Who knew that just as he arrived on the 1st floor, he would meet the 2 of them? If it was any other time, he wouldn't have bothered with them. The key point was that the person on the 3rd floor was the leader of the White Jade Tower. Now that the attack on the Tianwu Empire was imminent, who knew what kind of tricks Wan Kong and Yuan Hao were playing? Young Lord Kai, why did you come back? Li Lingxian smiled and teased, her playful tone overflowing. Wang Kai glared at her fiercely, but he quickly recovered his smile. He walked up to her in a few steps, squinted his eyes, and laughed lasciviously. You can only blame yourself for being too beautiful, Miss Ling Xian. This young master can't forget you. Even if we're only apart for a short while, this young master is tormented by longing. However, you should also feel fortunate that you're able to receive such great love from this young master. This is enough to make countless beauties in the world envious. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Once these words were spoken, Li Lingxian's beautiful eyes went blank, and she secretly ground her teeth in anger. The first few words were reasonable, but the latter words were an insult in disguise. Lu Baiyu couldn't help but smile. She stretched out her hand and gestured at the chairs. Since you're all here, let's sit down and talk. Are you the owner of the White Jade Tower? Prince Wan Kong's eyes flashed. He walked up to the table and asked tentatively. When he saw Lu Baiyu nod, he quickly became respectful. Junior Wan Kong greets Senior. Junior Yuan Hao greets Senior. Wan Kong and Yuan Hao respectfully greeted. In front of this person, even the Xinwu Empire's Wang Shang had to admit defeat. There were only 4 people like this in Fanzhou. And at least you have some manners. You are much better than the little guy in the marshal's mansion. Lu Baiyu lightly smiled. With a wave of her hand, 2 chairs slowly appeared. Thank you, Senior. Wan Kong and Yuan Hao saw this, and were even more convinced that this person was the owner of the White Jade Tower. They bowed again and thanked her, then sat up straight. Just 2 third-rate trash. How can they be better than Ben Xiao? They only know how to flatter. Ben Xiao is a man of indomitable spirit. How can he be like them? Kowtowing to the strong and kneeling to the powerful. This kind of etiquette can only be applied to Ben Xiao by others. Wang Kai's expression was extremely disdainful. He coldly snorted and walked to the other side of the table and sat down. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and bragging points. Impudent. How dare you spout nonsense in front of a senior? Seeing that old Marshal Wang is a meritorious official of the divine martial dynasty, I won't pursue this matter. Get out of here. The Wonkong crown prince frowned and scolded. Last time, Wang Kai had messed up the opportunity to attack the Tianwu Empire, delaying the attack until now. If this was ruined again, it would be difficult to successfully attack the Tianwu Empire. Are you talking to Ben Xiao? Do you believe that Ben Xiao will swap you with a leopard cat? It just so happens that Ben Xiao has a demonic pet that can transform into thousands of forms. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. If necessary, he would not be merciful, even if he was the crown prince. Swap the leopard cat for the crown prince? A demonic pet that can transform into thousands of forms? When they heard this, they were stunned and immediately understood. Prince Wonkong was instantly enraged. He stood up and scolded. How dare you? Do you think the Xinwu Empire belongs to your Wang family? Don't force this crown prince to kill you on the spot. Your Highness, everything must be done for the sake of the big picture. Yuan Hao quickly stood up and frowned. He could not help but feel worried. He did not know why, but every time the crown prince faced Wang Kai, his emotions would become unstable. If this continued, he was afraid that it would ruin the big picture. Prince Wonkong frowned when he heard this. If it were not for the fact that he needed the marshal's mansion's help to attack the Tianwu Empire, why would he care about a small Wang Kai? When he thought of this, his expression softened a little. He sat back in his chair and said with a faint smile, Wang Kai, you should leave quickly. This crown prince will give you 10 times the 2 million taels of silver that you just handed over. Li Lingxian stood behind Lu Baiyu with a strange look in her beautiful eyes. The 2 of them had been quietly watching from the side from beginning to end. They were expressionless and did not show any abnormalities. 10 times? Haha, Your Highness Wonkong. Take it out and get it to Ben Xiao first. Wang Kai shrugged when he heard this. His expression was extremely indifferent. Give it to you first? Is it going to be like last time? Prince Wonkong's face darkened. Last time, he was tricked by Wang Kai because of this. If he was tricked by Wang Kai again, as the crown prince, where should he put his face? You should return to the marshal's mansion first. I will send someone to deliver the silver later. Wang Kong said lightly. Patter. Wang Kai glanced at him with disdain. He raised his head and leaned back in his chair. His legs pressed on the table, causing the front of the chair to shake. He waved his hand disdainfully and said with a smile, Forget it. Ben Xiao has never liked verbal promises. Do you think that I will not keep my promises like you? Wang Kong said coldly. He clenched his hands into fists and wished that he could chop him into pieces. Yuan Hao saw this and quickly stood up. He clasped his hands and said to Lu Baiyu, Senior, since the crown prince is here, let us discuss the matter of attacking Tianwu. Yuan Hao. Wang Kong frowned and snorted. He was unhappy that Yuan Hao had told Wang Kai about this matter. Yuan Hao shook his head and said in a low voice, Your Highness, if the housemaster of White Jade Tower agrees to help, the matter of appointing a general will be carried out. There is no need to hide this matter. Moreover, Wang Kai alone cannot threaten us. Chapter 75. Sure enough, they were here to attack the Tianwu Empire. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and was filled with doubt. The White Jade Pavilion's master was one of the 4 outsiders. No matter how high the Spirit Core realm was, he was no match for such a powerful person. If that was the case, why did they ask the White Cloud Pavilion's master to go? Did Spirit Core have the confidence to kill Lu Baiyu as well? Or did Prince Wankong already know of Spirit Core's plan and wanted to use Lu Baiyu's ability to fight back against the Shenwu Academy? The Tianwu dynasty is not as strong as the Shenwu dynasty. Even if the 2 sides fight, the Shenwu dynasty will definitely win. It doesn't matter if I participate or not. Lu Baiyu smiled gently. Crown Prince Wankong rejoiced. Since Lu Baiyu said this, it meant there was hope. He quickly got up and cupped his fists. He respectfully said, "Senior, you might not know, but the Tianwu dynasty has a Grandma 9 Dragons." The 9 Dragons granny was on the Tianwu dynasty's side. No wonder the Shenwu dynasty didn't directly attack the Tianwu dynasty after the martial war dynasty was destroyed. Wang Kai's expression was very strange. No wonder he had never seen or heard of a 9 Dragons granny. It turned out that she was in the Tianwu dynasty. The 2 dynasties were bound to go to war sooner or later. If that was the case, why did she accept Lu Yao as her disciple? Although the 9 Dragons granny is strong, the Marshal's mansion's old housekeeper, Uncle Fu, is enough to prevent her from interfering in the war between the 2 dynasties. Instead of asking an outsider like me, it's better to ask the Marshal's mansion, Lu Baiyu said indifferently. The moment she said this, Prince Wankong's expression turned ugly. He couldn't help but glare at Wang Kai. If Uncle Fu was willing to help, he wouldn't have had to ask the White Jade Pavilion's master for help so many times. You dare to glare at Ben Shao? Humph. The royal family of the Divine Martial Dynasty is asking others to help them fight a war. In Ben Shao's opinion, the Divine Martial Dynasty is not far from being destroyed, Wang Kai said with a disdainful sneer. Prince Wankong's eyes turned cold when he heard this. He was extremely angry, but he had no choice but to clench his teeth and turn his head. He said in a deep voice, "Senior, Uncle Fu once swore that he would only help when the Divine Martial Dynasty was in danger. Before that, he would not participate in any war with the Divine Martial Dynasty as the main force." What price are you prepared to pay for my help? Lu Baiyu chuckled and raised her wine cup to take a sip. Whoosh! Prince Wankong's eyes were full of joy. He quickly gave Yuan Hao a look, and the latter took out a golden token. The word Emperor was carved on the front, and the word Ordinary was written on the back. Senior, this item was obtained from Emperor Fan when the old ancestor was still alive. You can use this item to meet Emperor Fan, Prince Wankong said respectfully. He held the golden token with both hands and gently placed it on the table. Lu Baiyu's eyes flashed. She squinted her eyes and nodded happily. She waved her hand and took the token. She smiled faintly and said, "Yes, I agree to this." "Thank you, Senior." Prince Wankong and Yuan Hao looked at each other and bowed to express their gratitude. "All right, don't pretend to be humble." They have left. Wang Kai snorted disdainfully. In his heart, he thought that the other party was an idiot. Since he had Emperor Fan's token, why did he need to ask Lu Baiyu for help? Wankong and Yuan Hao raised their heads and saw that Lu Baiyu and Li Lingxian had disappeared. Their faces were overflowing with joy. They looked at each other and laughed softly. I have decided. In 3 days' time, Wang Kai, you will be one of the candidates." Prince Wankong's expression was gloomy and cold. He left White Jade Tower with Yuan Hao. Wang Kai's eyes flickered slightly when he heard this. He raised his head and drank the wine in one gulp. He slammed the wine glass on the table and sneered with disdain. "You are just an ant trying to shake a big tree." Early in the morning, in front of the Marshal's mansion. "Master Lingshu, you don't have to go. Stay in the Marshal's mansion and recover from your injuries, so that you can wait for the selection to begin in 3 days. Wang Kai said softly. Even if Elder Lingshu went to Shenwu Academy, with his current condition, he would not be able to change anything. Instead, he would be framed by Elder Ling Dan. Young master is right. Since the attack on Tianwu has been decided, it is difficult to change the overall situation. We can only wait for the battle between the two empires. At that time, if there are any changes, one more martial king realm expert will increase our chances of success. Uncle Fu said flatly with his hands behind his back. Elder Lingshu frowned and shook her head. No, since Shenwu Academy was built by my master, I cannot let it be destroyed by my disciple Ling Dan. Even if I die, it is fine. As soon as these words were spoken, it caused the expressions of the few people to become stunned. Master Ji Chun put his palms together and sighed. Umitba, I did not think that there would be a life-and-death battle in Fan State. Old Bald, cough cough. Master Ji Chun, why don't you stay behind to resolve this battle and save the people? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled expectantly. Hearing this, Master Ji Chun shook his head and looked in the direction of the Shenwu Academy. He smiled warmly and said, I am going there to resolve Xining's karma. After this, I will take Xining and leave Fanzhou. I'm not from Fanzhou, so I will not interfere. Get the hell out of here. It's just Shenwu Academy and Tianwu Dynasty. What can they do? The old man waved his hand impatiently. Then, he grabbed Elder Ling Shu and walked into the marshal's mansion. Young Master Kai, are you confident that you can win this battle? If not, leave it to me. With my master here, it will be easy for us to beat up anyone from Shenwu Academy. Fatso Lu said with a wink. Xinong, you can only rely on yourself to resolve this karma. If there is an expert who tries to stop you, I will help you. I will not interfere in the fight between the younger generation. Ji Chen said faintly. Fatso Lu was instantly like a deflated ball when he heard this. He shrugged his head and was extremely speechless in his heart. Who is Ben Xiao? He is omnipotent and can make thousands of experts bow down to him. If Ben Xiao wants to, he can destroy Shenwu Academy with a flick of his finger. Wang Kai said calmly with his hands behind his back. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. As long as you are not bragging. Qinren licked his lips and grinned. Let's go take a look. We will leave Fan State with Senior Ji Chun. Lung Feng said coldly. Whoosh, whoosh. Uncle Fu grabbed Wang Kai with one hand and Lung Feng with the other and flew into the sky. Ji Chun grabbed Fatso Lu and Qinren and disappeared into the sky. They were so fast that they arrived at the gate of Shenwu Academy in the blink of an eye. Chapter 76. Senior Brother Wang. The two disciples hurried forward to greet Wang Kai. They were so respectful that Wang Kai felt a little embarrassed. He had just beaten them up, and now they were greeting him with a smile. This was the hardest thing to do in the world. As the saying goes, one does not hit a smiling person. Ahem, why are you two still guarding the gate today? Wang Kai pretended to sigh and waved his hand. Senior Brother Wang, there's something you don't know. Last time, because of Senior Brother Sai, we were punished to guard the mountain gate for 3 months. The two guarding disciples looked at each other and squeezed out a few drops of tears from the corners of their eyes. Seeing this, Wang Kai felt quite embarrassed. He casually took out 1,000,000 taels worth of silver and said with a faint smile, Take it. If you had been so polite from the start, this young master would not have treated you unfairly. Plop, plop. The two disciples immediately knelt on the ground and shook their heads. No. Senior Brother Wang, you are too kind. As long as you can enter the gates safely, we will be relieved. I think you are worried about your own safety? Qinren licked his lips and rubbed his bald head. His expression was full of disdain. The two guarding disciples scratched their heads embarrassedly. Indeed, as Qinren said, they were afraid that Wang Kai would injure them again in a fit of anger. Although they would not be punished, they would definitely have to guard the mountain gate with injuries. You will be punished again, Lung Feng said coldly. As soon as these words came out, the two guarding disciples were stunned. They didn't understand what Lung Feng meant, but they didn't think too much about it. They hurriedly led Wang Kai and the others into the academy. Isn't it bad for us to do this? Wang Kai rubbed his nose and leisurely walked on the stone steps with a strange smile on his face. After all, Qinren, Lung Feng, and Fatso Lu had been expelled from the academy. It was obvious that the two disciples did not know. I don't think so. Master Ji Chun and Fu. Were they? Fatso Lu was halfway through his sentence when his expression froze. He turned around and scanned his surroundings, but Ji Chun and Uncle Fu were nowhere to be seen. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders, clasped his hands behind his back, and smiled. Damn, fatty, you have to understand that hiding in the dark and appearing at the critical moment is the highest level of acting tough. Yes, Ben Xiao did that when he was young. Now, he's just tired of it and doesn't want to do it anymore. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. When Fatso Lu and the others heard this, the corners of their mouths twitched violently. When it came to showing off, there was absolutely no one who could compare to Wang Kai. His ability to brag was unparalleled and unheard of. Eldest senior brother, should we hurry over? Qinren licked his lips and laughed evilly. He was shocked when he learned that Wang Kai had broken through to the martial ancestor realm. However, he wanted to see how Wang Kai would beat up the Beidang family's direct descendant. Bald Donkey is right. Young Master Kai, if we're too slow, don't let the Beidang family's group of trash admit defeat. Fatso Lu said fiercely. Wang Kai's expression was indifferent. He placed his hands behind his back and walked at a leisurely pace. He raised his head and cleared his throat. This scene made Fatso Lu and the others immediately understand what he was going to do. He was definitely going to brag again. Hee, don't you guys know that the strong usually appear at the end? Just like in life, the best show is usually the finale. It's their honor to wait for such an awesome person like Ben Xiao. Wang Kai smiled indifferently. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Furthermore, they're all waiting at the arena because they really want to see Ben Xiao. I think that Ben Xiao is now a famous person in Fan Province. Wang Kai continued to smile proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Fatso Lu, Lung Feng, and Qinren looked at each other and felt their faces heat up. Even Fatso Lu, who was also fond of bragging, could not hold back his emotions at this moment. His shyness was evident in his words. As Wang Kai leisurely walked in front with his hands behind his back, his speed was as slow as a snail. Fatso Lu and the other two behind him could not help but secretly shake their heads and sigh. They had finally seen Wang Kai's true nature. After a few hours, looking at the scorching sun above their heads, it was already noon. The few of them finally arrived at the entrance of the arena. Is Wang Kai coming or not? We've already waited for a few hours? I think he must be scared. Senior Beidang, Su already broke through to the martial ancestor realm yesterday. I think he must have heard the news. Sigh, even the young palace master is here today. I thought I would be able to watch a good show. Now it looks like it's going to be a bust. That Wang Kai doesn't find it embarrassing. His fiancée, Lu Yao, has been waiting here for a few hours, and he still hasn't appeared. Complaints were endless. The spectator stands on all sides of the arena were already filled with people. There were even disciples who were standing and waiting. Among them, almost all the disciples of the martial generals were present. There were even close to 100 martial ancestor elders. Currently, the most furious person was Beitang Su, who was on the arena. He had been waiting here since dawn. After standing here for a few hours, he still did not see Wang Kai appear. If it were not for the fact that Wang Kai's martial skill was extraordinary, Beitang Su would have lost his patience and left long ago. Elders, that Wang Kai should be hiding in the marshal's mansion. Why don't we set the location of the battle in front of the marshal's mansion? Beitang Su said with a frown. As soon as he said this, everyone was stunned. However, everyone's expressions were very interesting. They looked at the 100 or so Academy elders with anticipation. Su is right. Why don't we go to the Marshal's mansion together? An elder echoed with a smile. The rest of the elders nodded in agreement. Among them, Elder Beidang Hong was naturally in full support. However, the 100 or so elders all looked at the old man in the lead. Let's wait for a while. After an hour, if Wang Kai still doesn't appear, we'll take it that he has lost without a fight. The elder, who had white eyebrows and a white beard, said with a frown. He did not mention going to the Marshal's mansion in Monarch City. The elders could only accept their fate and nodded. In front of this elder, they were just supporting characters. Miss Liu, we will attack the Tianmu dynasty in 3 days. When the time comes, how about we go together? On the spectator stand, Beitang Wentian's purple robe fluttered as he looked at Liu Yao with a smile. Liu Yao glanced at him coldly. She did not respond. Instead, she stood up and walked down the arena. Liu, Wang Kai. Beidang Wentian quickly stood up to ask her to stay. However, he saw a few figures standing at the entrance of the arena. Wang Kai was among them. At this moment, Liu Yao had also arrived in front of Wang Kai. Such a scene instantly caused Beitang Wentian to be extremely furious in his heart. Wang Kai is here. When everyone heard this, they looked at the entrance. When they saw who it was, they immediately became excited. Chapter 77. Beitang Su has already broken through to the martial ancestor realm. Are you confident? Liu Yao asked with a frown. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked at her playfully. He rubbed his chin and pretended to be deep in thought. Broken through to the martial ancestor realm? That's difficult. My dear fiancé, do you have a better idea? Looks like you're very confident. Liu Yao glanced at him and walked past him, bringing with her a fragrance. She went straight to Uncle Fu and said respectfully, Senior Uncle Fu, Master Ji-chun. Ba, I didn't expect you to recognize me. Master Ji-chun put his palms together and smiled. Uncle Fu put his hands behind his back and his eyes flickered. He nodded and smiled. Looks like the 9 Dragons granny has come to the divine martial dynasty. Wang Kai, since you're here, quickly come up to the arena. Beitang Su snorted and his expression was full of confidence and arrogance. Hearing this, Wang Kai's eyes slightly narrowed, and with an indifferent expression, he leisurely stepped onto the martial arts arena with his hands behind his back and indifferently said, Beitang Su, this young master is such an extraordinary character and is rarely seen since ancient times. I really don't want to humiliate a weak waste like you. This young master will give you 10 moves. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience points and bragging points. What? Giving senior brother Beidang Su 10 moves? Is he joking? Is Wang Kai crazy? No matter how strong he is, he's just a martial general. How dare he give a martial ancestor 10 moves? Even if it's just one move, he'll die on the spot. He must have been scared silly by senior brother Beidang Su. The discussions of the spectating disciples were endless. Everyone's faces were filled with disdain and disdain. A martial ancestor realm expert's aura alone was not something a martial general realm expert could handle. Yet, Beitang Su wanted to give him 10 moves. The crowd sneered when they heard such arrogant words. They were looking forward to seeing how Wang Kai would be defeated. You're overestimating yourself. I already broke through to the martial ancestor realm yesterday. If you don't want to die, then take the initiative to attack me. I can let you have 100 moves, 1,000 moves, 10,000 moves, Beitang Su said with a disdainful smile. Soon after, he placed his hands behind his back and assumed a posture of allowing himself to be attacked. Good. Senior brother Beidang Su is worthy of being the strongest direct descendant of the 4th generation. His breadth of mind and even the realm of martial arts are definitely not something a lowly person can compare to. That's right, Wang Kai. Since you have the ability, then attack senior brother Beidang Su. Haha, I hope you won't be knocked out of the arena in one move. Hearing the shouts of everyone, Wang Kai looked at them with a rather disdainful expression, then walked towards Beitang Su and indifferently said, "Although your bragging just now is very loud, but I still want to ask you, are you sure you want to let me win?" Clang, whoosh, bang, bang. However, before Beitang Su could finish his words, Wang Kai turned his palm into a knife and slashed diagonally at Beitang Su's waist. Along with a sudden flash of green light, Beitang Su's body was split into two halves from his waist and fell onto the arena together. There was not a trace of blood, and the wounds were neat and uniform. There was not a trace of blood, and the wounds looked pale. Beitang Su was not dead, but his eyes were wide open and he did not react for a long time. His legs were twitching, and his upper body was also twitching. God, he killed senior brother Beitang Su. One move. Just one move. F***CK. That's not right. Senior brother Beitang Su is not dead. Look, although his body has been split into two halves, his aura has not weakened at all. Impossible. What kind of martial skill is that? It can actually cut a person in half without killing him? And he used his palm? How is this possible? Numerous disciples who were watching the battle cried out in shock. Nearly 100 elders stood up in shock at this moment. Even Elder Bai Mei, who was sitting at the head seat, couldn't remain calm. His face was filled with shock as he stared at Beitang Su, who had been cut into two halves. Such a martial skill. The Wang family is indeed unfathomable. Amipa. Ji Chun put his palms together, and his face was filled with indescribable shock. Although Uncle Fu looked calm and composed, he was extremely shocked in his heart. He had cultivated for many years, but he had never seen such a martial skill before. F***CK. Young Master Kai is actually so awesome. What martial skill is that? No, I must find a way to learn it. Fatso Lu's eyes lit up as he thought to himself. It's better not to provoke eldest senior brother in the future. Kinrin licked his lips and wiped his bald head forcefully. He could not help but look a little scared. Just dodge it, Lung Feng said coldly. Without using a weapon, he could cut a person into two halves with just his palm. However, the person who was cut into two halves was still alive. If Beitang Su's body was cut into two halves and could not be reattached, how could he live in the future? He would definitely be in great pain. Now, do you know the gap between us? Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and looked down at him indifferently. He slashed his palm again and directly cut off Beitang Su's head. Again, there was no blood. The wound was pale, and there was no bone or flesh. It was as if it was made of dough. You know demonic arts. Beitang Su was extremely frightened. His teeth were chattering. His head was held in Wang Kai's hand. Looking at his upper and lower body on the stage, his panic became more and more intense. Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain. He slashed his palm again and directly cut Beitang Su's head into two halves from middle. He threw it on the ground as if he was throwing away garbage. He said disdainfully, "How can a group of self-righteous garbage like you understand the living being's slice technique? As long as it is a living creature, no matter if it is a human or a monster, as long as it is hit by this technique, it will end up like you. Living beings, slice technique." Hearing this, everyone widened their eyes in shock. Even the elders were trembling, especially when they saw Beitang Su's miserable state. If it happened to them, how would they feel? Now that I have one, Bin Xiao will kindly accept your 7-star art and Dark North seal. Wang Kai smiled indifferently. He flipped his hand and took the space ring from Beitang Su's finger. Bang! His battle chi penetrated the space ring and checked it. He was surprised to find that the 7-star art and Dark North seal were both in it. Well, you're not bad. You know to prepare your cultivation techniques and martial skills first. In this case, Bin Xiao will spare your life. You can live like this in the future. Wang Kai shrugged and kept the space ring. He leisurely walked down from the battle arena. Stop. Hand over the space ring. Swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, nearly 100 elders appeared on the battle arena. Beidang Hong was the leader, and all of them were Martial Ancestor Realm experts. Middle grade, Martial Ancestor Realm? Wang Kai smiled playfully. He played with the space ring in his hand and looked at them indifferently. He sneered. Do you want to not like him? If you want, Bin Xiao doesn't mind helping you. Chapter 78. Arrogant. You're just a martial general. How dare you talk nonsense here? Elder Beidang Hong scolded with disdain. No, no. He has reached the martial grandmaster realm. If not, I would have been able to dodge his attack. Beidang Su's two halves of his head shook slightly, and the two halves of his mouth opened to speak. Such a horrible scene made the corners of everyone's mouth twitch fiercely. Indeed, even though Beidang Su had threatened to let Wang Kai make a few moves, it did not mean that he would not dodge. He just would not fight back. Even so, he was defeated by Wang Kai with one hand. It could be seen that the martial arts realms of both sides must be at the same level or even higher. At this moment, all the elders frowned tightly. As long as they saw Beidang Su's current miserable state, their hearts trembled. If they were careless and were hit, wouldn't they have to live with their bodies separated from their families in the future? If that was the case, it would be better to die early and be free. So what if you're lucky enough to break through the martial grandmaster realm? You're just an inferior ant. Elder Beidang Hong looked extremely disdainful. He turned his hand and suddenly waved his sleeve. Streaks of cyan sharp blades condensed by battle chi, accompanied by the terrifying pressure of a middle-level grandmaster, swept across the air and shot toward Wang Kai. The pressure and battle chi blades were released at the same time. Even if he could dodge the blades, it was difficult to dodge the invisible pressure. Get lost. Do you still think Ben Shao is the same as before? Old dog Beitang. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed. He waved his hand and condensed a cyan barrier in front of him, blocking all the sharp blades that were rushing toward him. The pressure also blew past like a breeze, causing no damage at all. This is impossible. Elder Beidang Hong was immediately dumbfounded. All the elders were extremely shocked. Even the disciples who were watching the battle widened their eyes and opened their mouths as if they were suffocating. You're just a fifth-grade martial grandmaster. How dare you be so arrogant in front of Ben Shao? Since you don't know what's good for you, you'll all become broken limbs and live an ignoble life in this world. Form swap. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Wang Kai's figure disappeared from sight. Seeing this, the elders hurriedly circulated their battle chi to guard against him. However, as Wang Kai's figure reappeared, his palms slashed down like a saber, and the elders fell to the ground one after another. In the blink of an eye, close to 100 middle-rank martial ancestor realm elders all fell to the ground, unable to get up. As their bodies fell to the ground, they turned into pieces of severed limbs, severed heads, and severed bodies, piling up on the battle arena. Seeing the bodies of the various elders fall apart, rolling and twitching on the ground, but not dying, the numerous spectating disciples all sucked in a breath of cold air in unison. Their expressions were filled with extreme horror. Too ruthless. Too strong. It's too strange. Patter. Wang Kai leaped into the air. With a flip of his hand, he grabbed Beidang Hong's head in his hand. Grabbing Beidang Hong's hair, he sneered disdainfully. Now do you know how small you are? Previously, when you and Ben Shao secretly plotted against each other, you disregarded the dignity of an elder. Now that you've used the same trick again, you've ended up in such a miserable state. Don't you think it's ridiculous? Patter, patter, patter. Hearing a series of crisp sounds, everyone looked up and saw Wang Kai waving his palm with a cold expression, unceasingly slapping Beidang Hong's left and right face. Bastard! Bastard! The Shenwu Academy will destroy you. Marshal! Ah! Bang! Beidang Hong was furious and roared furiously. In the end, before he could finish his words, Wang Kai slapped his head. Under the frenzied circulation of his battle chi, his head immediately exploded. Drops of blood and brain matter spilled down. At the same time, the lower half of Elder Beidang Hong's body on the battle arena twitched violently twice and could no longer move. He died in an instant. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing a rank 5 martial ancestor realm expert. You've gained 4,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to rank 2 martial ancestor realm. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai squinted his eyes and the corner of his mouth curled up into a smile. A rank 5 martial ancestor realm was 4 ranks higher than him. Once he killed him, he would receive 4,000 experience points. In addition to his rank 4 bloodline, he was now able to fight against a rank 6 martial ancestor realm expert. Wang Kai is too strong. He's too strong. Oh my god. I can't believe that even a martial ancestor realm elder could not fight back against Wang Kai. What the hell is going on? How can he be so strong? The spectating disciples were shocked and did not want to believe it. However, the broken limbs of the elders on the battle arena and Beitang Hong's exploded head were right in front of them. They had to believe it. Elder Beitang Qinxiu, please save us. Elder Qinxiu. On the battle arena, the elders were shouting loudly. They wanted to dodge, but were unable to control their bodies perfectly. Some of them were cut off at the head. Once they wanted to move their legs, they could only run with their lower body. Their heads could only shake on the spot. Some of them were cut off at the waist. Once they could control their bodies, they could only stand with their lower body. Their upper body was still unable to move. Some of them had all 4 limbs cut off. Their hands and feet were running back and forth on the ground. They were in a miserable state. The eyes of the white-browed and white-bearded old man on the main seat flickered. Intentionally or unintentionally, he looked at Uncle Fu and Ji Chun. For a moment, he did not dare to move. Little friend Wang Kai, can you give this old man some face? Beitang Qinxiu did not dare to move. He could only plead. Hearing this, Wang Kai shrugged indifferently. With his hands behind his back, he floated down and said with a faint smile, "Don't worry. Bin Xiao does not like to kill. If Beitang Hong did not attack me time and time again, Bin Xiao would not have taken his life." Whoosh. Shortly after, Wang Kai waved his hand. The severed limbs of the elders floated into the air and turned into pieces of body parts that covered the sky. They rushed towards Beitang Qinxiu. Bang! Seeing this, the white-browed elder Beitang Qinxiu hurriedly waved his hand and released his battle chi. However, he discovered that his battle chi was unable to withstand the power of Wang Kai's attack. His body was immediately pushed back a few steps, causing the elders' bodies to fall to the ground. Haha, 6th grade martial great master? That makes sense. Old dog Beitang Hong and the other elders are all 4th and 5th grade martial great masters. Since they're able to sit on the main seat, it is reasonable for them to be 6th grade martial great master. Wang Kai sneered inwardly. If he had not killed Beitang Hong and was unable to break through to 2nd grade martial great master, he was afraid that he would not be a match for a 6th grade martial great master. After all, a 4th grade blood meridian could only fight enemies 4 grades higher than him. If the situation was not urgent, I would not have used the 8 inner hidden gates. I hope this Beitang Qinxiu is not as ungrateful as Beitang Hong. Otherwise, Wang Kai thought to himself. The 8 inner hidden gates was too fierce. It was simply a method of fighting that would harm the enemy by 1,000 but also oneself by 800. Chapter 79. That damned Wang Kai, he actually didn't kill Beitang Su. Murong Wanqing gritted her teeth as she sat in the stands. Her expression was unsightly. Shimin Lang Lang, who was at the side, pinched his thumb and middle finger together, covered his face, and laughed. Sister Wanqing, Beitang Su has already been dismembered by Wang Kai. He can no longer be arrogant in the future. Isn't it easy for you to bully him however you want? Shimin Lang Lang is right. The only person you need to deal with now is Beitang Tianlei. Now that he has lost an arm, without Beitang Su's protection, it will be easy to kill him. Nangong Xingyun's eyes twinkled as he smiled. Murong Wanqing's beautiful eyes flashed as she looked at him in surprise. She asked doubtfully, "Are you willing to help me?" "Of course. The Beitang family is about to reach its end." Dongfang too sneered as he stared at Wang Kai on the battle stage. His heart was filled with surprise. He had thought that he would definitely have a battle with Wang Kai, but now it seemed that the difference between them was too great. Nangong Xingyun's expression was gentle as he smiled. "Wanqing, the 4 of us have been cultivating together since we were young. It's only because of the Beitang family that we..." "Sai, let's not talk about the past. After this battle with the Tianwu dynasty, us three brothers will leave Fan Province. What do you mean? Why do you want to leave Fan Province? Moron Wanqing was startled. Shimin Lang Lang, Nangong Qingyun, and Dongfang Tu were all silent when they heard this, but their expressions were filled with determination. Last time, Wang Kai beat me up. I want revenge, but the fate of Shenwu Academy. I don't know if Nangong Qingyun's prediction is accurate. If it's not, I will stay and continue cultivating. Shimin Lang Lang covered his face as he laughed. Whether it's accurate or not, I will leave Fan Province. I hope that one day, I can have a fair battle with Wang Kai. Dongfang Tu said coldly. Nangong Qingyun narrowed his eyes as he nodded and smiled. A yin-yang disc suddenly appeared in his hand. As it rotated, his eyes twinkled as he said, I will leave Fan Province because Wang Kai is here. It will be difficult for me to achieve my position as the ruler, but outside of Fan Province, I should be able to do it. Damn fatty, why aren't you guys coming up for revenge? Wang Kai had his hands behind his back as he smiled playfully. Whoosh, swoosh. In an instant, Fatso Lu, Lung Feng, and Cameron stepped onto the stage and walked up to Beitang Su's body. You want? No. Uncle Chinchio, save me. Beitang Su cried out in alarm. No, my ass. Bang. Fatty Lu cursed angrily and kicked Beitang Su's crotch. That half of Beitang Su's body spasmed and twitched. The pain was instantly transmitted to the two halves of Beitang Su's head. Suddenly, blue veins popped out, and he screamed in pain. We brothers just want the two halves of the head. Canren licked his lips and forcefully wiped his bald head. Without any explanation, he grabbed the two halves of Beitang Su's head. That's right, Lung Feng said coldly as he stared at half of Beitang Su's head. A rare sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Seeing this, Fatso Lu smacked his lips and kicked Beitang Su again, speechless. Then he lifted his leg and shouted, Then I want the part below his head. Ha ha, damn fatty. If you want to torture him, you better hurry up. Otherwise, you won't have the chance. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled indifferently. He glanced at Lung Feng and Kinren casually. Fatso Lu's expression changed slightly. He quickly took out the black dragon blade and stabbed Beitang Su's legs, chest, and other parts of his body. Ah, no. Uncle Chinchio, save me. Beitang Su screamed crazily. The two halves of his head were as pale as paper and were covered in sweat. Kinren licked his lips and laughed hideously. He tightly held half of Beitang Su's head and said coldly, You deserve this. Kill. Lung Feng said coldly. He immediately pulled out his long sword and stabbed half of Beitang Su's head. Puff. Cameron followed closely behind and threw half of Beitang Su's head into the air. He then smashed it with his broken blade. Can you guys slow down a bit? Fatty Lu was rather depressed as he ferociously kicked Beitang Su's corpse away. At this moment, Elder Beitang Chinchio could only remain motionless on the grandstand. His expression was gloomy as he watched. When Beitang Su breathed his last, he opened his mouth and said in a hoarse voice, Wang Kai, can you help the elders recover? Wang Kai was indifferent when he heard this. He did not reply. Instead, he stepped into the air with his hands behind his back and went straight to the top of the stands. He looked down at Beidang Wentian and said indifferently, Weren't you very awesome back then? Now, do you dare to fight with Ben Shao? You. Beidang Wentian's expression was uncertain. He gritted his teeth and did not dare to reply. Although he was also in the martial ancestor realm, he was only a third-grade martial ancestor realm martial ancestor. Even the middle-grade elders were no match for him. How could he defeat him? Young Palace Master. That's right, we still have the Young Palace Master. The Young Palace Master has already stepped into the martial ancestor realm. He should be able to defeat Wang Kai, right? He definitely can. As the successor of the Palace Master, how could the Young Palace Master allow Wang Kai to act so presumptuously? That's right. If the Beitang family's cultivation techniques and martial skills are leaked, then the Beitang family's future. Young Palace Master, please defeat Wang Kai and save the Shenwu Academy's reputation. Save the Beitang family's future. Young Palace Master. Young Palace Master. In an instant, many disciples who were watching the battle shouted loudly, and their expressions were full of anticipation. When Wang Kai saw this, the smile on his face became even more intense. He squinted his eyes and looked at Beitang, Wentian mockingly, and said with a playful smile, "Young palace master. Oh, what a good young palace master. How about it? Are you a coward, or are you trying to be a hero? Fight with him. I will give you the power of a 7th-grade martial ancestor. It will be enough to kill him." Suddenly, a voice rang in Beitang Wentian's ears. When he heard this voice, his eyes immediately lit up with joy. "Humph! Palace Master Ben Shao did not intend to humiliate you. Since you are so overbearing and do not know what is good for you, then I will fight with you. See you on the stage." Swoosh! When Beitang Wentian heard this, his expression was full of pride and confidence. He immediately stepped into the air and landed on the battle stage. "Good. Well said, young palace master. Kill him. Let him know the power of the Shenwu Academy." Many of the spectating disciples became interested, and their expressions were extremely interesting as they cheered repeatedly. When Wang Kai saw this, he was surprised. He slowly landed on the battle stage with his hands behind his back. He smiled indifferently and said, "Ben Shao, I don't know where you get your confidence from. However, it's fine. Make your move." "Humph! On account of your previous battle with Beitang Su, Palace Master Ben Shao will give you an hour to recover your battle chi. Otherwise, the world will laugh at Palace Master Ben Shao for bullying the weak." Beitang Wentian sneered disdainfully. Chapter 80. This young master can allow anyone to show off, but he absolutely won't allow them to do so in front of me. Wang Kai smiled coldly, narrowed his eyes slightly, and took a step forward, his figure disappearing immediately. "Position swap. You overestimate yourself." Beidang Wentian's expression was filled with disdain. He waved his hand and formed a battle chi barrier. His body trembled as a powerful aura swept out. Bang! Wang Kai's figure appeared, and his fist, which was covered with cyan battle chi, suddenly smashed onto the barrier. Even with his full strength, the barrier didn't budge at all. Wang Kai was immediately forced back a few steps by the force of the impact. Rank 7 Martial Ancestor Realm. Wang Kai's pupils shrank as his feet slid across the ground for over 10 meters before he could stabilize himself. The aura he released was definitely a rank 7 Martial Ancestor Realm. He could not understand how Beitang Wentian, who was originally a low-rank Martial Ancestor Realm, could suddenly become a high-rank Martial Ancestor Realm. Ba, a Martial King has interfered. Benefactor Fu. Grandmaster Ji Chan clasped his hands together with an indifferent expression. Hearing this, Uncle Fu lightly nodded his head. However, he did not intend to stop them. Instead, he calmly watched as he thought to himself, "I can use this opportunity to see the young master's bloodline rank. A mere rank 7 Martial Ancestor Realm is nothing to her descendant. Lung Feng, Kinrun, since the two of you have a grudge with the Beidang family, go ahead and kill all the elders." Uncle Fu indifferently smiled. Although he did not stop a certain martial king from secretly giving Beidang Wentian power, he still had to return the favor. Hearing this, Kinrun rubbed his bald head and took out his broken black blade. He licked his lips and said with a sinister smile, "Big brother, kill." Lung Feng coldly said as he tightly gripped his sword. He quickly rushed towards Beitang Qinxiu and the other elders. "Then let's kill." Kinren cruelly smiled as he quickly followed behind. The two brothers already knew that the old housekeeper of the marshal's residence, Uncle Fu, was an unfathomable expert. Since he had already spoken, they naturally would not let go of this opportunity to take revenge on the Beitang family. Suppress. Seeing this, Uncle Fu smiled and pointed his finger at the air. Immediately, green ripples of battle chi spread out and reached the heads of Beitang Qinxiu and the other elders. Senior, Beitang Qinxiu's expression changed. He couldn't move his body at all. It was as if he had been immobilized. He couldn't even tremble. Puff, puff, puff. In the blink of an eye, Lung Feng and Kinrin raised their swords and chopped Beidang Chinchou into pieces on the spot. Then, they turned their attention to the elders who had been dismembered by Wang Kai. Blood splattered everywhere, and close to 100 corpses lay on the ground. If anyone dares to use despicable means again, don't blame the old man for being merciless. Uncle Fu spoke softly, but his voice reverberated throughout the entire Shenwu Academy like thunder. It was only at this moment that the spectating disciples realized just how powerful this old man was, especially when they saw that nearly 100 elders had been killed, yet no one from the academy had stood up to fight back. Wah! At the peak of the Shenwu Academy, a middle-aged man who was sitting cross-legged suddenly opened his eyes. He spat out a mouthful of blood and said with a horrified expression, "He's actually so powerful. Oof. I just reminded you not to play any tricks. Now you know what's good for you?" Elderling Dan walked out of the Pill Beast Palace with his hands behind his back. Behind him was a young man. It was the crown prince of the sky-suppressing king, Wanja, Palace Master Beitang. Wanja cupped his fists and greeted respectfully. Hearing this, the middle-aged man waved his hand and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He sighed in disappointment and said, "I didn't expect Uncle Fu from the Marshal's mansion to be so powerful. Even though I've broken through to middle-grade Marshal King, I'm still no match for him. You've just become a middle-grade Marshal King. If you don't reach upper-grade Marshal King, you can't fight with Uncle Fu. As for the fights between the younger generation, let them be. When a situation in the Tianwu dynasty is settled, no matter how strong the outsiders are, they will have to bow their heads," Elderling Dan said indifferently. At the same time, on the battle stage, Wang Kai frowned slightly as he watched Lung Feng and Kinrin slaughter the elders. He couldn't help but look at Uncle Fu. If he wanted to kill those elders, he would have done it long ago. Since he didn't kill them, he didn't want to kill them. Young Master Beidang Wentian was able to reach 7th grade Martial Great Master because an expert secretly gave him power. What he did just now was just a gift in return, Uncle Fu said with a smile. When Wang Kai heard this, he suddenly understood. No wonder Beidang Wentian's cultivation had suddenly increased by a few grades. It turned out that an expert from the Shenwu Academy had secretly helped him. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but grit his teeth and curse in a low voice. Shameless things keep coming one after another. If I don't teach them a lesson, I'll only encourage them to be arrogant. It seems that Ben Xiao is too kind. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed softly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. When he heard the notification, Wang Kai's face instantly darkened. He thought to himself that Ben Xiao was obviously very kind and didn't like to kill. Wang Kai, you are really a spoiled brat. You can't beat him, so you have to ask an expert for help? Beidang Wentian snorted with an ugly expression. However, he was already panicking in his heart. He was afraid that Uncle Fu would secretly do something to him. When Wang Kai heard this, he squinted his eyes and looked at Beidang Wentian with disdain. He said with disdain, "Do you still want to act tough? Don't you know who is the one secretly doing something to you? Idiot." "Well said. Hee, young Master Kai. Quickly beat him up. Later, when he is still alive, Grandpa Lu will trample on him." Fatso Lu shouted as he shook his big belly. "At Ba Zineng," Master Ji Chun said with a frown. Fatso Lu immediately put his palms together and bowed to Beidang Wentian. He said, "Benefactor, please don't act tough anymore. This poor monk really doesn't want to break the precepts and scold you." "Bastard!" Beidang Wentian was furious. He flipped his hand and threw a battle chi blade at Fatso Lu. 8 inner hidden gates. 6 inner gates open. Buzz. Swish. Wang Kai's body was surrounded by a layer of red light. His body moved in the blink of an eye, and only a red light could be seen. Crack! Before the battle chi blade could leave the stage, it was shattered by Wang Kai's hand. "Impossible, your realm. How can you block my battle chi?" Beidang Wentian cried out in shock. His face was filled with disbelief. Just now, he had forced Wang Kai to retreat with his aura. Now, his battle chi blade was easily broken by him. This caused Beitang Wentian's eyes to widen. His heart was filled with fear, and it beat violently. Open the gate, arms. Rest gate, legs. Life gate, 8 meridians. Limit gate, 5 viscera. View gate, 6 bowels. Wonder gate, bones and flesh. Opening all 6 inner gates can stimulate all the potential of my current realm. My strength, speed, and defense are all raised to the limit. Fortunately, Beidang Wentian's strength was not cultivated by himself. Otherwise, with just 6 inner gates, he would not be able to fight a true 7th-stage martial great master. Wang Kai frowned as he thought. He clenched his fists and moved his body. A series of crackling sounds could be heard. With Wang Kai's current realm, he could only open 6 inner gates. However, he was absolutely invincible among those of the same realm. If he wanted to fight someone of a higher realm, he would have to open the 7th and 8th inner gates. However, opening the last 2 inner gates, the pain gate and the death gate, would definitely harm him greatly. Burning blood and burning soul was not a joke. Opening all 8 inner gates of the 8 inner hidden gates would allow him to fight someone of a higher realm. This was equivalent to adding an extra level of bloodline power. His realm was given to him by others. He can't be considered a true 7th-stage martial great master. He can only be considered a fake 7th-stage martial great master. Just by opening 6 inner gates, he will not be able to contend against me. As he thought of this, Wang Kai's expression became indifferent again. With a tap of his foot, his figure disappeared. Form displacement transposition. Beitang Wentian. Die. Chapter 81. So what if your movement technique is even more exquisite? You still can't hurt Ben Shao. Beitang Wentian sneered. His body flickered and turned into a green shadow on the stage. On the surface of his body, the battle chi barrier was still flowing with green light. Swish! Tremor chi fist. Wang Kai's figure suddenly appeared. He clenched his hand into a fist and covered it with battle chi. He bent his arm and abruptly smashed down. With a cracking sound, the battle chi barrier was instantly smashed into pieces. Wang Kai's fist didn't slow down at all as it ruthlessly smashed into Beitang Wentian's face, sending him flying backwards. Plop! Beitang Wentian flew back several hundred meters and fell on the stands, scaring the spectating disciples to get up and hide. Hearing the crackling sounds of bones breaking, everyone couldn't help but shiver. Wah! Beitang Wentian's body twitched, and he could not speak clearly. Only blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He wanted to circulate his battle chi and stand up, but he found that he could not circulate his battle chi. His body was also twitching, and he could not control it freely. The Tremor Chi fist used the hidden force of battle chi to heavily injure the enemy. Once hit, the martial artist battle chi would be disrupted and temporarily unable to circulate it. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked at Beitang Wentian's miserable state. He could not help but clench his fists and secretly praise the power of the Tremor Chi fist. Such a martial skill was definitely the best way to heavily injure the enemy and make them lose all ability to resist. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing Beitang Wentian. You have gained 3,000 experience points. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai's expression was instantly startled. He looked at Beitang Wentian, who had fallen onto the viewing platform in astonishment, and shockingly discovered that Beitang Wentian was lying there quietly, without moving at all, and his aura was already completely gone. This is the so-called young palace master of the Shenwu Academy. Previously, he acted like he was invincible. Now, he could not even withstand one punch from Ben Shao. TSK. The Shenwu Academy is just SOSO. As long as Ben Shao wants to, he can destroy them with a flick of his finger. Wang Kai smiled indifferently, placed his hands behind his back, shook his head, and sighed repeatedly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points, and 1 bragging point. Heavens! Young Imperial Empress has fallen. Impossible. How can young Palace Master this? Many disciples who were watching the battle were dumbfounded on the spot. They had never thought that Wang Kai would be so strong. Not only did he kill the strongest direct descendant of the 4th generation, Beidang Su, but now even the young Palace Master couldn't escape the fate of death. Wang Kai, I will definitely kill you. Suddenly, an earth-shattering roar reverberated throughout the Shun Wu Academy. The Shun Wu Mountain shook uncontrollably, and all the disciples present spat out blood and fell to the ground. Swish, swish, swish. Hundreds of figures appeared in the sky, and the one leading them was the Palace Master of the Shun Wu Academy, Beitang Qianjun. Hee, if the young ones can't defeat me, then the old ones will do it? It's not that I want to boast, but Ben Shao can send a piece of trash like you to hell with just one look from Ben Shao. Wang Kai smiled indifferently. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. As soon as these words were spoken, it instantly caused the corners of everyone's mouths to twitch fiercely, and all of them prostrated themselves in admiration towards a certain aspect of Wang Kai. Never had they imagined that Wang Kai would still be able to boast loudly at this critical moment, and he wasn't afraid in the slightest. Cough, cough. However, since you're already old, this young master won't fuss about it with you. Uncle Fu, you do it. Wang Kai had his hands behind his back, and his expression was extremely calm and indifferent. Swish. Uncle Fu, the steward of the marshal's mansion. Do you really want to protect this guy and become the enemy of the Shenwu Academy? Beitang Qianjun said coldly. His expression was gloomy and terrifying. His eyes were like a poisonous snake staring at Wang Kai. He clenched his fists but didn't dare to attack. Uncle Fu didn't stand up after hearing this. He just sat there calmly and said, "You are not the strongest person in the Shenwu Academy. Even if you're a middle-grade martial king, you are not qualified to fight with the old man. Get lost." Did you hear that? I asked you to get lost. Ha, get lost. But young Master Kai, how can you go back on your words? Didn't I just say that I would let Beidang Wentian live? Now, even Grandpa Lu can't properly teach him a lesson. Fatso Lu shook his big belly and said regretfully, "Bastard, how dare the Lu family become the enemy of the Shenwu Academy? They deserve to die." Beitang Qianjun shouted angrily. He didn't dare to become the enemy of Uncle Fu, but it didn't mean that he didn't dare to touch the Lu family. Umipa, bang, wah. Master Jichin put his palms together and chanted softly. He immediately dispersed the pressure. A golden swastika flew in the air and forced Beitang Qianjun to take a few steps back. He spat out blood, and his hair was disheveled. He looked very miserable. When the crowd saw this, they were stunned and speechless for a long time. They had never thought that the Shenwu Academy couldn't even touch the Lu family. "Why have you come to the Shenwu Academy?" Swish. Elderling Dan appeared in the sky and glanced at Beitang Qianjun indifferently. Umipa, Zineng is a disciple of the Buddhist sect. I hope that the Shenwu Academy will not make things difficult for the Lu family. I'm only here to warn you about this matter. I will leave the Fan Prefecture in a few days and will not interfere in the affairs of the Fan Prefecture. Master Ji Chun put his palms together and smiled. Elderling Dan's eyes lit up when he heard this. He nodded and said with a smile, "I see. Don't worry. No matter what happens in the Fan Prefecture, the Shenwu Academy will not hurt the Lu family." "That's good. Zineng, let's go." Master Ji Chun put his palms together and smiled. A golden light appeared around him. When he stepped into the air, Fatty Lu was also brought along. "Young Master Kai, remember to come to the Buddha Prefecture to find me." Fatty Lu suddenly shouted. "Die." Suddenly, Beitang Qianjun's eyes turned fierce, and he turned into a stream of light and flew down. "Stop!" Elderling Dan frowned when he saw this. With a flip of his hand, he grabbed Beitang Qianjun and brought him back to the sky. "Ling Dan." Beitang Qianjun's face darkened. "Don't be rash. If I didn't stop you, you would have been killed. Elderling Dan scolded coldly. Young master, this matter is over. We should return to King City. Uncle Fu stood up slowly and smiled. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and glanced at Beitang Qianjun with disdain. He said disdainfully, a dignified palace master of the Shenwu Academy is actually a subordinate of a demon beast. Shame on you. You, Qianjun. Beitang Qianjun was so angry that the veins on his forehead bulged when he heard Ling Dan's words. He waved his sleeves and picked up Beitang Wentian's corpse. Then, he turned around and flew away. The several hundred elders followed closely behind him and disappeared. Haha, Senior Fu, I hope you can attend the warrior roll call in 3 days. Otherwise, Elderling Dan smiled faintly and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Uncle Fu put his hands behind his back and said calmly, If you have the ability, you can try. Whoosh! Uncle Fu grabbed Lung Feng and Song Run and stepped into the air. Wang Kai and Lu Yao followed closely behind. Only the bodies of hundreds of elders and many of the Shenwu Academy's disciples were left. Chapter 82. The Marshal's Mansion. For 3 whole days, Wang Kai did not leave the mansion. After returning from Shenwu Academy, he had been sitting cross-legged in the courtyard. Fatso Lu had already left Fan State and followed Master Ji Chun to Buddha State. Lung Feng and Can Run had also left after bidding farewell to Elder Ling Shu. Buzz! Above Wang Kai's head, there was a green ball of light that contained vigorous qi of heaven and earth. Every time it was the size of a basin, Wang Kai would clench his fist and turn the ball of light into a thumb-sized marble. If I don't rely on the gathering of Yuan Qi in a fixed space with my current martial realm, the speed of condensing the Yuan Qi bomb is still too slow. Wang Kai slowly opened his eyes, and with a flip of his hand, he stored the Yuan Qi bomb into a space ring. Inside the space ring, after 3 days of continuous condensation, there were 3 Yuan Qi bullets. The power of each bullet was comparable to the full force attack of a 9th grade martial arts grandmaster. The primordial Qi bomb had already been upgraded to an advanced zone realm martial skill. It was different from other martial skills. Even though Wang Kai was only a 2nd grade martial arts grandmaster, he could still condense a bullet with the power of a 9th grade martial arts grandmaster. As for the other superior zone realm martial arts skills, their power depended on Wang Kai's martial arts realm. Although they were invincible among martial arts skills of the same level, they could not be like Qi bullets, which could exceed one's own level of power. If I reach the Martial King realm, even if I'm only a 1st grade Martial King, the Yuan Qi bomb I condense will definitely have the power of a 9th grade Martial King. Wang Kai's face was full of smiles. His expression was extremely excited. With such a powerful martial arts skill like Qi bullets, it was no doubt equivalent to having a 9th grade bloodline power. It would not be difficult to kill someone of a higher level. Patter! With a thought, Wang Kai took out the Yuan Qi bomb that he had condensed in Tong Tian Tower and shook it with his fingertips. He squinted his eyes and said with a smile, If I can take Tong Tian Tower for myself and use it to store Yuan Qi, when I use Yuan Qi bomb, won't I be able to condense it instantly? Otherwise, it will be too slow to gather Qi of heaven and earth. For 3 whole days, he condensed them day and night, but only 3 primordial energy bullets were produced. However, the power of this primordial Qi bomb is really hard to estimate. Just the primordial Qi the size of a basin can have the power of a 9th grade martial arts great master. However, this one, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. Back then, at the level of unlimited primordial Qi, the primordial Qi bomb condensed was as big as a palace. Wang Ling has arrived. The marshal's residence receives the order. Suddenly, a drake-like cry spread throughout the marshal's mansion, causing Wang Kai's expression to be slightly startled. He stood up and stretched his body, and could not help but chuckle softly. Counting the time, today is the day of the general selection. Marshal's mansion, inside the mansion. A white-haired old man in a red palace robe was holding a square lattice covered with golden gauze. On top of the lattice, there was a golden token carved with a demonic tiger baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. I accept the order. The old man was dressed in black armor with a white cloak behind him. He held a long silver spear in his hand and walked over vigorously. Although he was old, his posture was tall and straight, and his face was extremely dignified. He immediately cupped his fists and responded, Where's Wang Kai? Doesn't he know that he's one of the generals to be selected today? The king has given the order, but I don't see him. Disobeying the king's order is a capital offense." The head eunuch frowned and snorted unhappily. Bang! The old man lifted his long spear and directly knocked the head eunuch to the ground. Then he held the token in his hand and said with disdain, Wang Jianin resigned from his position as the head eunuch and ran off to be the butler of old Liu from the Grand Tutor's residence. Before he left, did he not teach you how to speak in the marshal's residence? Ouch! The head eunuch crouched on the ground, his face flushed red. He clutched his chest tightly and was about to scold the old man, but the old man glared at him, causing him to tremble and cry out in pain. "Ha ha! A mere eunuch dares to show off in the marshal's residence? Who gave you the right?" Wang Kai placed his hands behind his back and leisurely walked into the hall. He glanced at the head eunuch with disdain. You, what a marshal's residence! I've seen it for myself. Wang Kai's name is already on the list of generals to be selected. As for whether you go or not, it's all up to you. The head eunuch was so angry that his chest heaved up and down. He waved his sleeves and ran out of the marshal's residence. Wang Kai's expression was extremely calm when he heard this. He looked at the token playfully and laughed softly. "Old man, why did you accept the tiger token when you knew about the conspiracy of the Shenwu Academy and the Tianwu dynasty? After living a comfortable life for more than 50 years, it's time for these old bones to move around. Let's go, Kair. The marshal's position will be taken by you." The old man waved his long spear and laughed arrogantly. He threw the tiger token to Wang Kai and strode out of the marshal's residence. Patter! Wang Kai extended his hand and caught the tiger token. He flipped it around and played with it a few times. Then he threw it on the ground like he was throwing away trash. His expression was disdainful as he curled his lips and said in disdain, "How many taels of silver can this broken thing be worth?" After the old man and Wang Kai left the marshal's residence, Uncle Fu appeared in the hall. He waved his sleeves and summoned the tiger token to his hand. He shook his head and sighed. "Without the tiger token, how can I lead the troops? I really want to go and take a look." How about it? Don't tell me you still want to go." Swoosh! An old woman with a half-bent body and a dragon-headed walking stick suddenly appeared in the hall. She had white hair and a wrinkled face, but her eyes were cold as she stared at Uncle Fu. "Ha! Grandma Nine Dragons." Old Man and Emperor Fan made a vow that as long as young master and old master are not harmed, we will not act recklessly. No matter what the Tianwu dynasty and Shenwu Academy are plotting, remember this is old man's bottom line. Uncle Fu laughed. It's good that you remember. I don't want to move my bones." Grandma Nine Dragons snorted and tapped the floor with her dragon-headed walking stick. With a dull thud, she disappeared in an instant. Uncle Fu's face was indifferent. He sat on the chair and said softly, "Grandma Nine Dragons, you don't have to do this." The marriage between Liu Yao and young master was arranged by their parents. Even if you took Liu Yao as your disciple, you shouldn't break the marriage between the two families. Fu Di, you don't have to waste your breath. When the time comes, Yao will retreat. A cold laugh echoed in the hall, causing Fu Bo to narrow his eyes slightly. He gently nodded his head without making a sound. Outside Yunwu City, the old man and Wang Kai appeared one after another, followed by hundreds of experts from the marshal's residence. All of them were in the martial arts grandmaster realm and had reached the peak of level 9. At the same time, in the sky, there were 12 figures following them in secret. Their auras were in the martial king realm. With so many experts, Wang Kai could not calm down for a long time. He had never thought that the marshal's residence was hiding such a powerful force. Chapter 83. Humph, the commander of the marshal's mansion is the last to arrive. In my opinion, he should hand over the commander's badge and find someone else. Wan Lu, the second son of the sky-suppressing king, was riding on an armored warhorse with a long saber in his hand. He snorted disdainfully. Beside him, there were also hundreds of powerhouses. The lowest rank among them was a martial arts grandmaster. Crown Prince Wan, you are wrong. The old marshal of the marshal's mansion led the army to destroy the War Wu dynasty. He is late today because he has been too comfortable for the past 50 years. Li Changfeng laughed mockingly. He rode his warhorse and sat at the head of the Li family. He also led hundreds of strong cultivators, but most of them were generals. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and looked at the many teams present. The sky-suppressing king's mansion was led by Wan Lu. The Great Rock Mansion was led by Little Rock King. The Prime Minister's mansion was led by Yuan Hao, and the Imperial Advisor's mansion was led by Lu Yao. The Lu family, the head of the 4 aristocratic families, was not present. Only the Li family, Su family, and Su family were present. The 2 mansions led the strongest forces and were on par with the marshal's mansion. The Prime Minister's mansion only had Yuan Hao, and the Imperial Advisor's mansion only had Lu Yao. As for the 4 aristocratic families, they were all martial generals. You were taught a lesson by Ben Xiao in the Shenwu Academy, right? Wang Kai had a playful expression. With his hands behind his back, he walked to Wan Lu's warhorse and slapped it. Nay, plop. The armored warhorse was knocked to the ground by Wang Kai's slap. Wan Lu, who was on top of it, lost his balance and fell to the ground. He rolled a few times and jumped up. He pulled out his long saber and pointed at Wang Kai, berating in a stern voice. Impudent! How dare you attack someone in the army without permission? This is a violation of the military rules. Men, take him down. Swoosh! Swoosh! 2 figures appeared in a flash. Green battle chi gathered and their fists were powerful. They surrounded Wang Kai from both sides. Upper grade martial grandmaster. Switch positions. Seeing this, Wang Kai's expression was extremely disdainful. He tapped his feet and disappeared immediately. Bang! When Wang Kai reappeared, he was in front of Li Changfeng. With the same palm strike, the warhorse fell to the ground, and Li Changfeng was thrown dozens of meters away. Li Changfeng spat out a mouthful of blood, looking even more miserable than Wan Lu. Bastard! General of the Li family, capture this traitor! Roared Li Changfeng, his face red with rage. Swoosh! Several figures flashed out from the Li family's team, but before they could even get close to Wang Kai, they were all sent flying while vomiting blood by the zone rel pressure. A mere martial general dares to make a move against Ben Xiao. Wang Kai sneered disdainfully. With a few steps, he retreated to the side of the old master of the marshal's mansion. As for the 2 superior martial grandmasters from the suppressing Heavenly King residence, they frowned slightly when they saw the situation. Looking at the many strong practitioners behind the marshal's residence, they did not dare to step forward. All of you stop. I have already passed the Tiger Command to Kair. From now on, he is the commander of the Divine Martial Army, and I will assist him. All of you will assist him as well. You dared to disrespect the commander. Just now was a punishment. If you dare to cause trouble again, I will not let you off easily, said the old master calmly. As soon as he said that, everyone's expression changed. They did not expect the commander's command to be in Wang Kai's hands. Old Marshal, this is not a game. The Divine Martial Army has millions of soldiers. How can the commander be chosen casually? Yuan Hao hurriedly jumped off his warhorse and came before the old master, bowing respectfully to dissuade him. Old Marshal's mansion, please think twice before you act. Everyone from the 3 aristocratic families and the suppressing Heavenly King residence cupped their fists and looked determined. The Divine Martial Army? Millions of soldiers? Is there something wrong with your heads? There are many strong practitioners from Wang City here. There are more than 1,000 of them, But where did the millions come from? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and asked in confusion. Swoosh! Little Rock Wang Peng Nine jumped off his warhorse and came to Wang Kai's side. He said in a low voice, Brother Wang, the millions of soldiers are confronting the Tianwu dynasty at the border. The old imperial advisor, the suppressing heavenly king, my father, and the 3 aristocratic families led by the crown prince are already at the border. This matter has been decided and cannot be changed. Martial King realm practitioners, follow me to the border first. Kai, you lead the rest of the people to the Zhanwu dynasty. Dispatch the Wang family army and suppress the Tianwu dynasty from the left, ordered the old master sternly. As soon as he finished speaking, he stepped into the air, and the 12 Martial King realm experts followed behind him. The Martial King realm experts from the suppressing Heavenly King residence and the Great Rock residence also followed closely behind. The Zhanwu dynasty. Cough, cough, where is it? Wang Kai laughed awkwardly. Swoosh! As soon as he said that, everyone was speechless. The matter of the commander will be decided after we reach the border. Let's go. Yuan Hao said indifferently and got on his warhorse. The second son of the suppressing Heavenly King, Wan Lu, glanced at Wang Kai with disdain. He waved his arm and said, The suppressing Heavenly King residence. Follow Brother Yuan and set off. The Li family. Follow Brother Yuan and set off. The Su family. The Su family. In a moment, under Yuan Hao's lead, the suppressing Heavenly King residence and the 3 aristocratic families all rode their war horses and set off. Aren't you going with them? Wang Kai touched his nose and looked at Little Rock King playfully. Little Rock King's face was full of disdain. He said indifferently, They're not qualified for me to follow. Wang Kai, what are you still chatting about? Why aren't you setting off? Lu Yao, who had been silent, finally opened her mouth. Her beautiful face was full of coldness. Wang Kai shrugged and said helplessly, Since we are all martial grandmasters, wouldn't it be faster to walk on air? We don't have as much battle chi as martial kings. If we all walk in the air, even a 9th grade martial ancestor realm cultivator would exhaust their battle chi by the time we reach our destination. If we run into trouble again, Little Peng King laughed in a low voice. Could there be someone to stop them? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and shrugged helplessly. He smiled and said, Then let's set off. Little Rock King, you lead the way. Little Peng King nodded, speechless. He sighed in his heart. If his father hadn't asked him to stay by Wang Kai's side, he would have left immediately. You guys follow him. My fiancé and I will be at the back. Wang Kai said with a smile. He only ran to Lu Yao's side after the experts from the marshal's residence had disappeared. My fiancé, I didn't bring my warhorse. Can I? Wang Kai said with a smile. Lu Yao frowned slightly and snorted coldly. Get on the horse. Okay. Wang Kai was delighted. He jumped and sat behind Lu Yao. He could not help but wrap his arms around her waist. He felt her softness and the fragrance coming from her nose. He felt so comfortable that he secretly groaned. Chapter 84. Xinjiang Pass. It was located at the border between the Xinwu dynasty and the original Zhanwu dynasty. It stood in the middle of a group of mountains with cliffs and walls. It could be said to be a work of the gods. 57 years ago, the Marshal's mansion led the army to destroy the Zhanwu dynasty, allowing the Xinwu dynasty to unify 2/3 of the Fan province. That battle established the Xinwu dynasty as the quasi-overlord of the Fan province. Hence, it was called the Xinjiang Pass. Quasi-overlord, TSK, TSK. If we succeed in destroying the Tianwu dynasty, wouldn't we become the true overlord of the Fan province? Wang Kai had a playful expression. His entire body was tied up with ropes, and he was lying horizontally on the war horse. Before Marshal Wang left, he passed the tiger token to you. Are you confident in this Tianwu battle? Lu Yao asked with a slight frown. She held the reins in one hand and the rope that bound Wang Kai in the other. When they arrived at the Xinjiang Pass, she slowly stopped the war horse. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. His face immediately turned bitter as he said, "My dear fiancé, can you untie me first before we talk? If we pass through the Xinjiang Pass like this, the soldiers guarding the pass will laugh their heads off. Withdraw." Lu Yao glanced at him indifferently. She gently waved her hand, and the golden rope binding Wang Kai turned into a golden thread. It floated into her hair and disappeared. The king binding rope, is really a good treasure. My dear fiancé, can you lend it to me to play with for a few days? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled. He moved his body, and a series of crackling sounds could be heard. Since they set off from the royal city, Wang Kai had been tied up by Lu Yao. He was unable to resist her powerful cultivation in the martial Tao, and he could only grit his teeth and enjoy the torture. Up until now, it had already been an entire day. He could see and smell, but he couldn't touch, so one could imagine how depressing it was. This item was given to me by my master. It is connected to my bloodline. Even if I give it to you, you'll not be able to use it, Lu Yao coldly said. Wang Kai uninterestedly shrugged his shoulders and took the initiative to lead the war horse. He smiled and said, "My dear fiancé, let me do this rough work. You smooth-tongued lecher. Do you know that once you leave the Divine Battle Pass, it means that there's no turning back?" Lu Yaoqing coldly snorted. Her white dress fluttered in the wind. Her figure was exquisite, and her temperament was otherworldly. She stood below the walls of the Divine Battle Pass with mountains around her. She looked like a fairy. Although the area outside the Divine Battle Pass was within the Divine Martial Dynasty's territory, the soldiers stationed there were all loyal to the Marshal's mansion. Once Wang Kai went to the Tianwu dynasty, there would only be two outcomes. First, the Tianwu dynasty would be destroyed and the Fan Prefecture would be unified. Second, the Tianwu dynasty would be wiped out along with the army, dying on the battlefield. The ups and downs are blurred, looking askance at the bright moon. Since ancient times, heroes have had many strange ambitions. I will definitely crazily take over Fan Zhou's Song Sang Moon, turning the dragon's soul into ink to write the spring and autumn. Wang Kai smiled indifferently. With his hands behind his back, he allowed the wind to blow, causing his hair to flutter and his robes to explode. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. Lu Yao was startled when she heard this. On her beautiful face, her otherworldly eyes flickered with a strange light. She lightly nodded her head and praised, "I didn't think that my fiancé wasn't as useless as the rumors say. He is skilled in both the pen and the sword. Haha, looks like I won't lose this bet." Damn, it worked. Wang Kai's eyes hid his joy. He never thought that reciting a poem would earn him a smile and praise from Lu Yao. He quickly struck while the iron was hot and said, "My dear fiancé, why don't we return to the imperial city and get married after the Tianwu dynasty's matter is over? Looks like you still don't know what happened in the past. Wait until you ask Marshal Wang and Uncle Fu about your background. Then come find me to talk about marriage." Lu Yao shook her head with disappointment and walked towards the Divine Battle Pass with her hands behind her back. Background? What happened in the past? Wang Kai frowned when he heard this. In his memory, he shouldn't have any special background. Could it be that his body was still a mysterious and powerful young master? Speaking of which, I really don't have any memories of my parents. Wang Kai thought in his heart. He almost broke his head, but he couldn't find anything about his parents. Who is under the pass? Do you have a pass token? On the walls of the God's War Pass, a middle-aged general guarding the pass shouted sternly. On his left and right, there were dozens of armored soldiers. None of them hid their oars at all. The weakest among them was a 9th-grade martial ancestor, and the general who spoke was even beyond the martial great realm. The imperial tutor's residence, Lu Yao, ordered to go to Yuan Zhan Wu realm. Lu Yao said coldly. With a wave of her hand, she threw a white token onto the wall. Pata! The general took it and glanced at it. He threw the token back and nodded gently. It turned out to be the daughter of the imperial tutor's residence. Who is the person who is traveling with you? The marshal's residence, Wang Kai, ordered to go to Yuan Zhanwu realm. Wang Kai's expression was extremely serious. He was full of admiration for the soldiers guarding the pass. It was because they were guarding the border that the divine battle dynasty could be at peace at all times. The marshal's residence, Wang Kai. Once these words were spoken, the general and the dozens of soldiers were immediately stunned. They all walked a little closer and stared at Wang Kai with their eyes wide open. Grandson of old Marshal Wang, do you have a token to prove your identity? The general guarding the pass immediately said respectfully. The marshal's residence, old Marshal Wang, and even the battle between the Divine Battle Dynasty and the Divine Battle Dynasty. All the soldiers present had participated. A token to prove his identity? Wang Kai's mouth twitched when he heard this. That kind of thing didn't exist in the marshal's residence. As for the only proof, the Hu token, he had already thrown it in the marshal's residence. Cough, cough, I'm really Wang Kai. Wang Kai said awkwardly. The generals guarding the pass frowned and looked at each other. They all felt a little embarrassed. Since Wang Kai could travel with Liu Yao, it had already proved that his identity was not fake. However, it was impossible to be perfunctory with the duty of guarding the pass. Before you, the Prime Minister's residence, Yuan Hao, the second prince of the suppressing Heavenly King residence, Wan Lu, the direct descendants of the three great families, and the little Peng King of the Great Peng residence have all shown their identity. I'm sorry, you can't come out. The general guarding the pass said lightly. Wang Kai's face darkened when he heard this. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have let the little Peng King go first. The most hateful thing was that the generals of the marshal's residence were following his team. Now he really had no way to prove it. She is my fiancée. She can prove that I am Wang Kai of the marshal's residence. Wang Kai rolled his eyes and hurriedly walked to Liu Yao's side. Without any explanation, he reached out and wrapped his arms around her waist. Liu Yao frowned slightly when she saw this, but she didn't stop him. Instead, she nodded gently and said, "Yes, I can prove his identity." Chapter 85. General, why don't we open the gate and let him through? A soldier asked. That's right. The marriage between the marshal's residence and the imperial advisor's residence was set 15 years ago. Everyone in the Xinwu dynasty knows about this. Since he came here with Lady Liu and is so close to her, I don't think anything will go wrong. Another soldier pleaded. General, we think we can open the gate and let him through. Then dozens of soldiers went down on one knee and cupped their fists. Every soldier was fanatical about the marshal's residence, especially the Battle of the Gods. It was still vivid in their minds. No, how can we, the generals guarding the pass, act on our emotions? The leading general looked solemn as he shook his head and refused. Although he also wanted to open the gate and let him through, he could not disobey his duty as the general guarding the pass. If he could not prove his identity, even if the old marshal came in person, it would be difficult for him to come out. This was the military rule. Didn't the old marshal give you the tiger token? Why haven't you taken it out yet? Liu Yao frowned and asked rather coldly. Her beautiful eyes hid anxiety and deep worry. Wang Kai's mouth twitched when he heard this. If he had known this would happen, he would have taken the tiger token with him when he came out. Why did he have to go through all this trouble? If he told her directly that he had left the tiger token in the marshal's residence, who knew what she would think of him? Cough, cough. The tiger token is the key to the development of the army. How can it be taken out so casually? If there's even the slightest mistake and the divine martial dynasty falls into a perilous situation, wouldn't this young master become a sinner for all eternity? Wang Kai's expression turned serious as he spoke righteously. Bastard, if you don't take it out now, you'll be a sinner for all eternity. Liu Yao scolded coldly. OF*CK. Wang Kai's face darkened. He was a man, but he was being scolded by a woman. Even if she was his fiancée, it would not do. He glared at her fiercely and sneered. Little girl, I haven't hit you in 3 days, and you're going to do something? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience and bragging points. Fine. Whoosh. Lu Yao coldly shouted. From her black hair, a golden thread floated out and turned into a golden rope. Like a dragon, it quickly tied up Wang Kai. Plop! Wang Kai couldn't move at all. He lost his balance and fell to the ground. His face was covered with dust. He raised his head and spat twice. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "Help! She murdered her husband. Murder, cough, cough." General, I think it's better to let them pass. If we delay any longer, we'll be letting old Marshal Wang down. I hope the general will let us pass. We are willing to receive 100 strokes of the rod. Dozens of generals saw this, and their eyelids twitched. They hurriedly knelt on one knee and cupped their fists to ask for instructions. Forget it. Since all of you have come to your senses, then let us pass. Later on, everyone will receive 100 strokes of the cane. This general will also receive the same treatment. The middle-aged general heaved a resigned sigh and waved his hand to produce a triangular golden flag. As he waved it, the city gates opened. "My dear fiancé, quickly untie them. The gates are open, they're open." Wang Kai cried out with a bitter face. He suddenly had a feeling of powerlessness. Even though he was a rank 2 martial ancestor and had the ability to fight someone 4 ranks above him, he was still no match for Lu Yao. Lu Yao coldly snorted. Just as she was about to put away the king binding chains, her expression suddenly changed. She abruptly turned around and shouted, "What evil spirit! Since you're here, why hide like a coward?" Beidang Qianjun. Whoosh! As a deep voice boomed, a figure gathered green battle chi in his hands and attacked Lu Yao. F*CKU. You didn't come earlier or later. You just had to come when I couldn't move. Seeing this, Wang Kai's face immediately darkened. He clenched his teeth and was about to communicate with the system to untie the king binding chains. However, he felt his vision turn black and his body suddenly became light. "Little bastard, I'll take you to play." Whoosh! A petite girl dressed in red appeared in front of Wang Kai. She skillfully opened a black bag and put Wang Kai inside. Then, she grabbed him and disappeared into the sky. "How dare you?" On the city wall, the leading general and many other generals shouted angrily and flew over. "Scram!" Beidang Qianjun shouted disdainfully. He waved his hand and a huge battle chi blade swept out, causing many generals to vomit blood and fly away. Even a martial king general paled and was forced to retreat. He wanted to chase after Wang Kai again, but Wang Kai was nowhere to be seen. Medial grade martial king. The palace master of Shenwu Academy, Beitang Qianjun. The leading general shouted coldly. Lu Yao was standing in the air. Her white dress was spotless. She looked indifferently in the direction Wang Kai had disappeared and said coldly, "Beitang Qianjun, you should know that if anything happens to Wang Kai, you won't be able to survive." I didn't expect the imperial advisor's daughter to have reached the martial king realm. It seems that Ling Dan sent me here at the right time. Otherwise, if I let you go to the battlefield, I'm afraid the situation will be chaotic. Beidang Qianjun said with a cold smile. Between the mountains, the girl dressed in red was flying quickly. She was holding a big black bag in her hand. She would kick the bag from time to time. "Little bastard, you wanted me to be your follower. Now you know how powerful I am. I'll kick you to death. I'll kick you to death." The girl in red pouted proudly. Bang, bang, bang. Wang Kai instantly felt dizzy. His head, face, and even his entire body had been kicked no less than 100 times. After hearing this, he immediately reacted. He clenched his teeth and shouted angrily, "You are the female peacock of the Shenwu Academy. Bastard, you have to call me queen. Do you hear me? I'll kick you to death." Bang! Kongro was so proud that she snorted. Between her laughter, a pair of small canine teeth was revealed. Her expression was full of mischief. "How many bragging points do I need to unlock the king binding rope?" Wang Kai's face darkened. He endured the torture all over his body and gritted his teeth. "Host, with your current martial arts level, You need to spend 10 bragging points to unlock the king binding rope. Unlock it. Damn it, if I don't teach this little girl a lesson. My name is not Wong Kai. Wong Kai shouted fiercely. Congratulations to the host for successfully unlocking the king binding rope. 10 bragging points have been consumed. Rip. In an instant, Wong Kai broke free from the restraints and tore the black bag into pieces with his hands. After revealing himself, he grabbed Kong Ro's arm with a backhand and immediately sent a palm strike out. Bang! Ah, bastard! You! How could you tear the Cosmos sack into pieces? Seeing this, Kong Ro's pretty face changed slightly. She quickly kicked her legs and dodged, causing Wong Kai's palm to hit nothing but air. The Cyan Battle Chi exploded in midair. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.